Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, man, because baby is creepy.
What's up, BSers? That is creepy.
Welcome.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody out there feeling? You guys backed away from the ledge yet? Everybody,
guessing no. I'm guessing
blood
no.
pressure drop a little bit. It was a long night.
It was a long night. I probably didn't go to sleep till like 12:30 because then you get in bed and you're like wide awake.
Oh yeah, I was wired 100%. Still don't think I'm 100% over it, but you know what? We gotta move on.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah,
There's only one way to get over it. It's a win.
Right. Ravens obviously let one get away from them in Vegas. We got KC coming to the bank next week. Can they right the ship between now and then? So we're talking a little bit about that. The Terps won big over Howard as they continue their journey toward a 4-0 showdown with number 4 Iowa. Potentially. Potentially.
It's going to be big if it works.
That's right. The Orioles, man. What's going on with the Orioles?
Nothing good. The good stuff, though, I mean, you got, Mullins and Mountcastle making their march towards history.
Right.
But outside of that, a lot of bad.
That's right.
A lot of bad.
And the after hours, because we got such a loaded show, we're saving for, the rundown. We're saving for the after hours because we got such a loaded show. So strap in. It's going to be a long night, just like last night. It'll be a long one.
We're ready for it. We're here with you.
Right. Scott, in case you haven't noticed, is not here. So Drew is stepping in.
It took a while to get to that point, but we're there. He's off on another work trip.
Yeah, Scott is in California
All good.
doing his work business, but let's get rolling, man. Before we do too much, though, we do want to remind you, if you've ever been injured at work or in an auto accident, weren't sure who to call, 855-MD-CRASH. The Maryland Personal Injury Attorneys that'll have your back. If you find yourself in an unfortunate situation just like I have, Drew hasn't, I think Ryan has, and maybe James has. I don't know.
I did mid episode, guys.
Give our team at MD Crash a call right away. We all know the cost of medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering. It all adds up really quick and can potentially put you in a bad place. If you want a team that'll handle your case, big or small, and just give you some peace of mind, save this number now. 855-MD-CRASH. It's 855-632-7274. Be sure to follow them on Facebook for some fun giveaways, including tickets to some upcoming Ravens games. All right.
Oh, man. Let's
Here we
get
go.
into it. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
It's like a fucking onion. Let's just peel this
do it.
thing back one layer at a time.
Got many layers.
Yeah. Where do we even start with this? I know what we've done over the last couple of years is when we've had a big loss like this or a tough loss, we do a therapy session. I think we've done therapy 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. We've had a few.
They're usually later in the season.
They are. It's not usually this quick.
It's usually in the October into November is when we have it.
I mean, this was the first Ravens lost on opening night since 2015, 6 years.
Even that, like the last 5 were all like not even close. They were either blowouts or at least, it had it well in hand by the time the final whistle blew.
Exactly. And actually, they had a 14-0 lead in this game, which John Harbaugh, since he's been the coach of the Ravens, anytime he's been up with a 14-point lead, they were 81-0.
Yeah, that was a crazy stat.
81-0 until last night. So, yeah, records are made to be broken and end at some point. Unfortunately, it happened on opening night. It happened in a game that I think a lot of fans out there, including all of us here in this room, except for one, James. I'll give you a little golf clap. You got the prediction right.
I'll eat the crow because I called like the hugest win amongst us. So
Yeah, you did. You called a straight blowout.
I went with that whole 5 straight of blowouts.
Yeah, but it came down to one of the craziest endings to a football game I've ever seen. You talk about blood pressure, man. My blood pressure was up. My blood pressure was down. I was all over the fucking place. My anxiety was everywhere. It was an absolutely crazy end to that game. But, man, where do we start? Like we said, we got to pull this thing back one layer at a time because there was, believe it or not, there was some good in this game. There was a lot of bad in this game. Obviously, let's start with the Band-Aid, right? You got to rip the Band-Aid off. Obviously, the biggest issue, I think, for most fans out there in this game, the offensive line play.
And there ain't a big enough Band-Aid to fix what's going on right now.
No. I mean, we expected there to be some struggles with the offensive line, especially starting out. A lot of these guys hadn't had a lot of practice time, hadn't played together. We saw them for that one series together when
Dobbins went down.
When Dobbins went down. And they were like, fuck that, pull the plug, get him out of there.
Because I think even then they were, whatever that first, we're getting the starters for one series, and that was it anyway. So once that happened, you knew it was done.
Right. And we had heard, from other Steeler fans and whatnot out there that Villanueva was going to be a potential problem. And obviously filling a big shoes, man. Orlando Brown held that right side of the line down for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And it's all fine and dandy for us to say, oh, we should have never let Orlando Guerrero go and we should have signed him and everything. Financially, it just wasn't going to work.
I still have the feeling of him anyway. I think if he wasn't traded, one, we're not going to have Oweh.
Right.
And two, he would. I just have a feeling he would have been one of those holdouts where it carries into the season.
Exactly.
And then what would you been? You know what I mean? Then it wouldn't have been Villanueva. It would have been Andre Smith or somebody. A random tackle that you don't have experience. Confidence in anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately,
it is with Orlando.
Unfortunately, very talented starting right tackles don't grow on trees, and we're finding that out kind of the hard way, especially with the budget that the Ravens have or that they've set themselves up with for that position. Because, Villanueva, I know he's a veteran. He's played most of his career at left tackle, so we knew that was going to be an adjustment. Now, he kind of downplayed it and said that, it wasn't as much of an impact or as much of a change as one might think it would be. But if you watch in this game, he looked bad, and bad doesn't do it justice.
And I think if there was a situation where Stanley was, on that short-term IR or whatever, and he was at left tackle, I don't think it wouldn't have done any better because that left tackle is natural position.
Right.
It just wasn't there one way or the other.
And that's the thing with this with the offensive line play last night. It was obviously they struggled with Crosby. Crosby had 14 pressures in this game or something like that. It was ridiculous. Ngakwe was having his way over on the other side with even Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie, still coming back from the ankle injury. He didn't have a whole lot of practice time, didn't have a whole lot of preseason time. I'm not concerned with Ronnie Stanley.
I think
that
it's
will
getting back
get
up to
better.
snuff for him. Yeah.
Exactly.
He doesn't bother me. Like a Bozeman doesn't bother me. It's everything else that
right.
you're concerned about.
And I think Ngakwe had a chip on his shoulder going into this game. There was a lot of talk amongst Ravens flock that he flopped, that he wasn't the trade that we all kind of expected him to be.
Yeah.
He kind of, he in his own way said that it wasn't him, that it was more the system and how they utilized him. And I think he's got a lot of point. I think he's got a point there, but I think he wanted to prove last night that, he is still the guy that had all those sacks, his first couple of years in the league.
Monster in Jacksonville, for sure.
Exactly. So you had that added chip going against a tackle who, again, is still working his way back from injury. Yeah. If there's any good that you can pull from the offensive line, I was pretty impressed with the interior. Obviously, we had the loss for Tyree Phillips goes down early in this game, which that's a big loss. I wasn't sure what the Ravens were going to do at that left guard position because it was a battle really down to the last day as to who was going to be that starting left guard.
I know for me, I was kind of interested in him getting that shot. I know kind of having him at that swing tackle spot might be better or whatever. Maybe what it is, but I was always, I've always said, I kind of want to, let him have a shot finally to, have a position, and that's your position, not a few weeks into the season, you're a starter this week, but then the following week you're not. So it was kind of cool to finally see him get that shot, but obviously the injury kind of squashed that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they announced today that Phillips is going on the IR, so he'll be out at least for 3 weeks from here on out. So hopefully the injury isn't too serious, but that obviously puts us in a position where we weren't real confident with this offensive line going into the year. Now you lose that guard or swing tackle, however you wanted to use him, and now your depth at tackle is very, very thin because right now, behind Villanueva, everybody's wanting Villanueva to be replaced and all that stuff. What are your options? Your options are Makari.
Offensive linemen are not just hanging out on the street,
right?
And not every position is just out there hanging out. You got a plethora of guys out there looking for jobs,
right?
But you when it comes to this point in the year, there's only probably I'd say 5, 6, 7 really great offensive lines, and everyone else is like that, that middle tier or worse. All right, obviously they're not giving you any talent, and so what I mean. There's no talent to trade either.
Exactly, and I see Scott out there bringing up Ryan's boy Ely, the tackle from Oklahoma. I get bringing him up and maybe getting him a little bit of work, but he is in no position to be starting right now. He is a developmental tackle. He is no better than a Villanueva would be out there right now. So that's the problem is right now there's not a whole lot of internal options that are going to be a better replacement for Villanueva. Go ahead, Ryan.
There was one really big internal option that's out on the street this week with Ben Cleveland not being active. I can't imagine how that monster of a man has not managed to be on the 53, whether you're moving a different guard out to tackle, what you're doing. If he's not involved in this line, we really screwed up this draft.
Agreed, and I think he needs some work, and I trust the Ravens coaching staff to get that right, and I trust their opinions that if they don't feel like he's ready to be out there, then that says something.
You know why he wasn't out there, right?
For
Ben Cleveland.
Why?
Concussion still.
Is he still dealing with that? Okay.
Yeah, that's why he was inactive.
Well, there's part of that, and then it's also like
that worries me though.
Yeah.
The long-term effects of that. Yeah, absolutely.
And then even just in general, think of somebody like that. Okay, so say week 4 he's out of the protocols or he's good to go. All right, well that's still another offensive lineman that has to get have some practice and get up to snuff, and it's still just throwing someone out to the wolves anyway.
Right.
Which is what we're talking about.
But I mean, this game, it was so telling because really the Raiders didn't blitz very much in this game.
Literally, I think they had 3 or 4 actual blitz packages that they ran. And
exactly. But they didn't have to because they were creating their own pressure. Crosby was in the backfield all game long. So it's that goes to show that this offensive line's got a long way to go, especially on those tackles to improve.
Yeah, because even late, the funny part of it is not that they were injured, but they lost Ngakoue and McCoy.
Right.
And that's after they left, that's when the fumble happened, late. It's there was still pressure without 2 of the guys that were, creating the pressure.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Any comments out there? Good.
Yeah, I got Kaylee on the board here. Kaylee even texted us last night.
I agree.
Oh my God, I wanted to rip Crosby's face off my TV. She was really worried about all the talking he was doing, the smug ass look on his face, and we couldn't do shit about it. I don't know what's going on.
There was 2 things I wanted to stop hearing. I wanted to stop hearing the name Crosby. I wanted to stop hearing the fact that the Ravens had lost their 3 running backs in the last couple of weeks. We got it. When it's the 7th time in the first quarter, we got it.
All right, so let's again peeling this onion back one layer at a time. Let's talk a little bit about the running backs then, because the only running back that was on that field last night that had any kind of time with the team or any kind of experience with the team, and that's a very limited amount of experience with the team, Tyson Williams, looked good in the first half. I mean, he obviously had the 35-yard touchdown on the 4th and 1.
It was real confusing how it kind of played out, but
and
it did look real impressive at first. It definitely didn't look like it was too big for the moment.
9 carries. I mean, he had 7 rushes, 64 yards in the touchdown in the first half. He had 2 carries, 1 yard in the second half. It's again when your bread and butter is the running game, right? And I understand that the depth behind them didn't have a whole lot of experience. Latavius Murray didn't have a whole lot of experience. Cannon, he gone. He was in there for one game. They released him already.
I don't know what was faster, him getting released or that video you shared us.
They're both about equal.
You should see the other 6 he sent me.
He's fast.
But the point is, their bread and butter is their running game.
Yeah.
And Williams showed that he could do it, not only carrying the ball, but he could catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he had some mishaps in protection
and that
pass pro.
And I get that, but at the same time, yes, that is part of the game, and I'm not going to really excuse him for it. But when you're literally the only running back that's still in camp, because let's just say Murray never had a camp with us. I mean,
right?
I'll practice.
Yeah,
whatever.
I'll practice.
So you're the only running back that's really been in camp that's there. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't know how to be able to pass pro, but it shouldn't be your job because you would expect the offensive line to be better than it was.
Right.
So it's like, I get it. It's a facet of the game. I'm not giving him a huge pass, but for Christ's sakes, he's an undrafted running back at his first start.
Right.
Yeah, if the lineman's that bad that you need an extra pass protector on every play, it's Pat Ricard and Pat Ricard only. Like, what are we doing? He's basically a lineman, but he ends up being tight end too because he had like 6 attempts at him, which is mind blowing that he was tight end too. I just don't get it, and it seems like Harbaugh's got 2 different standards. If you're a running back and you fumble, we're never going to see you again. And the fumble was bullshit anyway. He was basically standing out of bounds before that ball came out of his arms.
Right.
He was already tied up. The loss of momentum already happened. I don't even know why the ref dropped the beanbag. If it would have been reviewed, it would not have been a turnover.
Right.
And yet they don't see him again. But Lamar can fumble all the time. We're not going to do anything to him. So like, just put your running back in there, bro. You have no other option.
Yeah,
we're not the Patriots. We can't go 16.
And the problem is, it was another like. It'd be one thing if it wasn't just another Ravens MO.
Yeah.
You're something's working. Let's just outright abandon it. Yeah, the passing game was actually working pretty crisp there in the first half, but it's like you can't abandon it.
Right.
It's what we always do.
Exactly. And I understood that like we didn't know what to expect out of Tyson, but immediately he was impactful and he looked good in the running game. So again, to get away from that didn't make any sense to me. The whole Harbaugh thing, I understand that he's got the Harbaugh doghouse and all that stuff, but when your options are as limited as they are at running back, you can't hold that accountable.
You got to keep that doghouse on the porch. You can't let him go too far.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what gets me is like these elite quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, like when you're throwing the ball and your wide receiver, your number one wide receiver is dropping the ball like Waller was dropping the ball. You got to keep on feeding him. Even though he's a running back, you got to give him the ball to say, hey, we rely on you. You're going to get the rock when it's needed. If not, he's going to be on the sideline like, hey, they're not going to put me in.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, let's talk a little bit about the receiving in this game because we'll get to Lamar here in a second. But obviously one of the big things was how was this receiving core going to be? Obviously with the injuries that we've had, some of the new pieces. We got a Sammy Watkins in there. How's he going to fit into the system? Honestly, all in all, if we're going to pull anything positive away from the offense, I think the wide receivers did their job in this game and looked good.
Yeah,
I think they did.
I was real impressed with Watkins at sitting there. West, one of those things with enough about Watkins, you're worried about the injuries and stuff. But I know that's in the back of our mind. But what you saw on the field was like, another, you know what I mean? Like another receiver that's with Hollywood. So it makes you think even better if you can get Bateman back incorporated. It makes you feel better about Brown not having to be that number one option because you don't really feel like, well, at least fans wise, you don't really feel like he's number one anyway. But when he's got that other guy, it's amazing because it's a lot less pressure off of him, and he had a lot of good plays, especially at touchdown. Right.
And that's what this offense has been missing. They've been missing that second wide receiver to be able to take that pressure off of Hollywood. And you saw that in the game because Hollywood had 6 targets in this game. He had 6 catches in this game.
Yeah.
And he was working the soft spot in the zone. So he was being able to find spots, which is what some of the issues that I had with Hollywood in the past was him just not getting open. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's got the speed. He's got all the intangibles, but the whole kind of like we talk about with Mark Andrews and kind of what he does for Lamar is if a play breaks down, he'll get himself open and find his way in front of Lamar's vision.
Yeah.
That's never been Hollywood's thing. Hollywood runs his route, and if he's not hit with the ball, then he gives up on his route. He doesn't come back. You saw that in this game. He was able to work into space, get open, and Lamar
you saw
found
from
him.
Watkins too, because he's used to that in Kansas City. Let's be honest. Like it's the same thing with Pat. He runs around back there, and then you got to get open because the play's different at that point. It's not the same route. You got to break off. And that's what we never saw really out of like the Sneads and the old guard of wide receivers we've had in the past.
Right. That's very
under
true.
Lamar.
Yeah. Well, his number one receiver, tight end Mark Andrews. Where's the missing posters? Where's the missing milk cartons?
If he catches that ball in overtime, you definitely feel like that game could have been a whole lot different.
Yeah, I mean that goes for a first down there.
Way.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of little things that could have gone this way or could have gone that way in the game. I mean, we had plenty of opportunities to win this game.
Yes.
But again, this has kind of been Mark Andrews' MO and for a lot of fans out there, that their one issue with him is that he tends to drop balls in big situations. And this was a big situation. Go ahead,
Exactly. I got Jacob Paul here say, by the way, when Andrews is going to step up in a big game and make a play, he's invisible in big games and always crucial drops. You know, this is the biggest game for Andrews. We've seen it many times. He ghosts for the Chiefs game coming up. So we're going to have to, quickly, we'll have a chance to redeem himself. But if he ghosts again, it's like, why can you not perform in these games? It really starts to become a narrative like it was for Lamar.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this first game a big game per se.
It's still Monday night.
It was a Monday night football
opener.
game, and it was a big situation that, yeah, he should have had that catch. It would have been a big first down, and we'd be talking probably more about a Ravens win. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And what's crazy is I just didn't see a whole lot of Lamar looking his way. Now,
that's a good thing, honestly.
Lamar there's a whole nother onion. Let's peel that label back in this game, because
ogres and onions.
I'm not going to sit here and rip apart Lamar in this game, because I don't think anything Lamar did in this game was negative outside of the fumbles.
Yeah, the fumbles, obviously.
Especially the first
problem.
one, which was bad.
Right. The fumbles are a problem, but I blame that more on the offensive line than I do on Lamar. He's got to hold on to the ball. I get that. I understand that. But he had zero time. And I think that was part of his struggles even through the air trying to throw the ball, was he couldn't go through his progressions. One of the things that we talk about with him is one of the areas that he needs to improve on is being able to go through his progressions, find his open man, and throw the ball. Yeah. You've got to have time to be able to do that. Lamar would drop back in the pocket, and by the time he would stop and set himself, he had to make a quick decision. It was either find that first read or run.
And think of it, if he wasn't a running quarterback, or it was this one of those games you're like, you're going to refuse to have a quarterback runs regardless because you want to prove something, it would have been like 10 sacks.
Right. 10 sacks, and we've gotten blown out in this game. If that quarterback behind there was anybody other than Lamar Jackson, we get blown out in this game.
The touchdown to Hollywood is the definition of what we're talking about.
Exactly. Good, Ryan.
I got Garnett West here. He says, they started to sniff out the pistol real fast.
Yep.
We need to involve a scheme in the running a little bit because we're blowing up in the backfield. How many times do we hear in the offseason that Lamar was going to be under center? Did anybody see it last night?
No.
I don't. We just keep running the same thing. It's a pistol or a gun. Like, this is the same thing. Don't call it different things, bro. It's the same thing. We're doing the same thing.
Yep.
So I just don't get it. I don't know how we can't get to that. I think that with his speed, you look at the bootleg out from under center too.
Right.
It would be a whole different thing. I don't understand. People are hating on Roman, saying that he's out of tricks. He's done. There's nothing else. They can't figure out Lamar because of his athletic talent. You figure him out and he still gets around you, but you can certainly figure out Roman to find out where they're going.
Exactly. Right. I was thinking that going into the day, because
it's not figuring out Lamar. We can stop calling it Lamar. You figured out Roman.
Yeah, you keep hearing that. Yeah, that was
you can know exactly what Lamar's doing. He's gonna make you look stupid. We saw that last night.
Yeah.
Those golden shoes dance around a bunch of people.
Yeah,
exactly. So the only thing with Lamar is, and this still comes back to the offensive line, is that when he feels pressured and when he feels like he's not comfortable, he gets happy feet. His feet don't get set, and he just starts to shuffle around, and then he becomes almost hesitant on his throws because he feels like he's got to get the ball out quick. So he'll do this almost like
it kind of darts down.
It's almost like that's a great analogy. It almost looks like he's throwing a dart. Instead of him actually going through his motions, he's throwing this dart, and it ends up being either short or behind a receiver, or that's where he loses his accuracy. I think back to was it 2 years? Was it last year or 2 years ago? The season opener against the Dolphins, right? And he had all those yards. He threw all those touchdowns to Hollywood in his first game and all that stuff. The big difference in that was, one, obviously the offensive line, but just his comfort in the pocket. He would drop back, stand still. His base was centered. His base was calm, and he could make every throw on the football field. And you see that in many games when he's felt that way. Mm-hmm. It's the games like this where he's got no protection, his feet get happy, and he can't use his bottom half to throw the ball that he struggles on some of those small
that
short
just
routes.
adds to the scariness that fans are going to have about the O-line, because it just doesn't feel like – or is it something where, the first 3-4 games, you're gelling and maybe things work after that, but then at that point are you know what I mean? Are you at 1-3 or 0-4 or something like that? And you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it could be too little too late.
Right.
So I don't have an answer.
Right.
But it is. When there's a lot less pressure, it's like any quarterback.
Right. And the thing with this is, like I told you, they only blitzed 2 or 3 times in this game, talking about the Raiders. But Lamar was pressured almost 55% of his snaps last night.
With 3 blitzes.
With 3 blitzes. 55%. That means more than half of the time he was having to scramble. He was having to run. He was having to have ad-lib. Whereas Derek Carr was only pressured 20% of the time.
And we blitz a whole lot more.
Exactly.
Like the second most blitzes last year.
Oh, man. So blitzing.
Year.
All right, let's go on to the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, because Wink Martindale, we all love Wink. We've all been a big fan of Wink, but he is very risk-reward.
Yeah.
He does a lot of risky things, and sometimes he'll fall on the sword with some questionable decisions. And there was a lot of cover 0 in this game. A lot of
prevent.
Not prevent. I'm talking cover 0 where the safeties are in. You have nobody on the back end, and it's man coverage, and Derek Carr picked us apart.
Yeah, that works when you have all your studs, but without them, it don't work.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, you got no Jimmy Smith in this game. We all knew that Darren Waller was going to be
hard to deal
priority number 1 for this defense to stop, but there were certain things that, and they even talked about it in the game, that would have helped. If you get a chip on Darren Waller at the line, slow him down, slow his progression time, that gives your defensive line and that pass rush a little bit more time to get that pressure, and it throws off the chemistry between him and Derek Carr. But they let him run free way too often.
They even it was mainly him. Like, he even gave you some gifts where it was like he should have like 4 more catches.
Right.
There were
maybe
I don't know if he got 4 drops credited to him, but there was like 4 times where I'm like, if he would have caught that would have been another 20 yards at least.
Easily could have had 150 to 200 yards receiving in that game.
19 targets.
Yes, 19 targets,
ridiculous.
3 or 4 drops in this game, and still had a monster game. It's hard. It pains me to think that guy slipped through.
Don't worry, we have Kelsey this week.
I know, and that's the thing. We've got Kelsey, we've got Hawkinson, we've got a slew of some of the top tight ends coming in.
Ryan talked about that so much, and not that I denied what he was saying, but after watching this game, I bought in. I'm like, these tight end matchups these first month of the season.
And that goes back to what I was saying before.
Lions are scary now.
Hawkinson, yeah.
And that's what I was going back to before, is what I said the importance of Jimmy Smith, specifically against the tight ends, is immeasurable. Like, it's
really is.
Patrick Queen looked good in this game on some plays. He's getting more instinctual, and I think he's following his instincts a little bit more. But in coverage, he's still questionable.
Yeah, he's still there, but it felt a little bit different because normally when that kind of happens, it's kind of like he disappears completely.
Right.
He didn't disappear completely in this one.
Right. No, that's definitely true.
Thing.
That's definitely true. But their offense, yes, it lives through Darren Waller, but they have weapons everywhere. They've got multiple weapons at wide receiver.
Like, even when they don't want to use the wide receivers, like Renfro doing that cross, I mean, that's just, it seems to bite us in the ass anyway if it's not a tight end.
Right. And we didn't know we hadn't seen yet what the impact was going to be like not having Marcus Peters out there, and having to rely on an Anthony Averett, which I don't think Anthony Averett played bad. And I'm not gonna shred the secondary, even though we gave up 435 yards through the air in this game. It's a lot of yardage. I'm not gonna blame the secondary as much on that as I am gonna blame Wink. I think some of the calls that he made, like I said, having a lot of cover 0 in there, I think that's more where the blame needs to go. I think Marlon Humphrey did everything he could in this game. He was all over the field.
And that's the problem with, and not a problem really against Marlon. I mean, you can take it that way if anybody wants to, but that's the problem with Marlon. Like, when you no Peters and no Smith, he has to do like everything.
Right. He has to cover the go-to guy. He was in the slot.
Like, if I'm doing something
outside.
else, you have to take this. Someone else has to take this. I can't do everything.
I know he's the scapegoat on the touchdown to win the game and all that stuff. He got bumped, and it was a great play design and a great play call by the Raiders, considering how crazy of an ending that was and how much of a shit show that was, with running the field goal team on out there and then not, because they got the 5-yard penalty, and then next thing you know, fucking touchdown. It was an absolutely insane ending of that game.
I just want to say, I think personally Wink lost the game at the end anyways, because I can't fucking stand prevent defense. You had 37 seconds left, and you let this team drive down the fucking field.
The game was over once it was in field goal range.
Like, if even, like, prevent, you're giving them yards. Like, before, you got to put some pass rush, not give up field. Like, and you couldn't ice their kicker. They iced their own kicker and still end up winning the game by
That's
a
what I'm
touchdown.
saying.
Like, I'm sorry. I can't stand prevent. I fucking can't stand it. With 37 seconds.
37 seconds.
you
There's
think
no
the
reason
game's
that we
over,
should have lost that game with that.
and they're just dropping bombs. And then no timeouts, too.
Right.
I just can't stand it.
Carr was absolutely unstoppable. I think that it was like 17 of 19 or something at one point. It was crazy.
Yeah, Carr looked good.
My ass about Carr is he's going to go like disappear in like a few games.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like,
he will. But when he's
where was
good,
that
he
MVP
is
type
good.
stuff in game one?
This goes to show you Derek Carr can be a good quarterback when given time. And he
Yeah.
was given a ton of
Yes, he
time in
was.
this game. Now, granted, early on in the game, first half, it wasn't great for Derek Carr. It wasn't great for their offense. Justin Houston was able to get in the backfield. Oweh
was all over the place.
Oweh was all over the field. He did get his first career sack, so he's already
And it
got
was a
more
real
sacks
nice
than he
one
had
too,
his
because he was
entire.
like it got past him, but didn't like then
Right.
he backtracked and showed that speed and got to him.
Exactly. Justin Houston could have had a sack, but he fell off, and I think McPhee gobbled it up. He should have had a sack.
Yeah, it would have been him, but McPhee got it.
Right. So there was pressure early on, but in that second half, they gave up 327 yards after halftime.
Yeah.
And it was where everything changed. It seemed like all the play calling changed. I don't know what happened.
People got tired.
Yeah, right. I mean, how often, especially since Lamar's taken over, how often have we been able to say that the Ravens lost time of possession?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
lost
It doesn't
time of
happen
possession in
very
this game.
often.
It never happens. Why? Because we control the game through the run game. What did we not do in this game? We didn't run the fucking ball. We didn't control clock. The defense was out there too much. Like you said, they got gassed. Questionable play calling. I saw somebody else make a comment in there. If we're going to criticize anybody in the secondary, Tavon Young did not look very good in this game.
Not at all.
He got
Not
on
at
some
all.
of those cover zeros. They were specifically attacking him,
Yeah.
and he got beat at least twice, if not 3 times, on those cover zeros. So Tavon Young, again, another guy that injury prone. We don't know where he's at. If he's 100% healthy, if he's still working his way back in, because he was a good player before the injury.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
been so long since he's been that player.
And even before last year, he was playing good until the injury. Yeah.
Right.
Real quick.
Go ahead, James.
I just want to put this in. I think the reason why I'm blurry is because of Fred. He's not moving. So I'm just like zoomed into him.
He seems
so.
pretty pissed off.
So, anyways, but I don't know if anybody watched the ESPN with Peyton Manning or Eli. If you get a chance, watch it because they do really great things. Because when they had Kelsey on, when Humphreys got hurt, they were like, watch this. They're going to attack whoever's coming in for Humphrey. And it did. Whoever was out there that was supposed to be – that took Humphrey's spot.
Right.
Peyton and Kelsey, like, they're going to attack that guy that just came in, and exactly what it did. So if anybody gets a chance and watch the ESPN with Peyton Manning and his brother, and then they have guests on, it's great if you want to have the football analytics and storytelling and get through tonight. It was great. I know you guys couldn't watch it because you know the game gets to you, but I enjoyed it. I think it was.
Yeah,
great.
I'm definitely going to have to check it out the next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, the pressure wasn't there in the second half. What wasn't there from a pressure standpoint either, which I was kind of surprised in, was there wasn't much from the interior of the defensive line. You know, we talked a little bit about Justin Houston getting some pressure, Pernell McPhee being back there, and obviously Oweh making an impact. But those were all from the outside, the edges, right? That's been the biggest question mark over the years, has been the pressure from the outside. Well, in this game, you didn't hear Matabeast.
Yeah,
You didn't hear,
yeah.
Calais Campbell. You didn't hear, not that they had bad games, you just didn't get that interior pressure, and that's where Carr just had
There's different
too much
stories.
time.
Like normally, when you don't hear the names, it's actually a good thing because they gobbled up everything else for everybody.
Right.
It
Exactly.
didn't seem like that at all.
Now, granted, they did good against the run.
Yeah.
I think other than the Mariota run, which I think Mariota's run was like, what, a 35 yard? Yeah. So they only really gave up 50-something yards rushing outside of that one play. So they did good against the run, but I personally have higher expectations from the interior of that defensive line to create sacks and to create that pressure. I don't know what else to say really about the defense. Like I said
before the show, I mean, I'm not going to give the defense a pass, and I'm not going to sit there and give everyone a good grade. but I guess comparable to the offensive line, it just doesn't scare me as much.
Right.
Because I do trust Wink. I do. I mean, if the injuries keep minimized, I mean, that's your worry now with having so many injuries in the off season right before the season. I think if the injuries are minimized, then it's a lot less panic with the defense for me.
Right.
But that offensive line is way worse to me than the defense.
Yeah. I mean, we had question marks about the offensive line. I just didn't think we'd have question marks about the defensive line.
Yeah.
Well, William Sable's got a good point that we haven't talked about. Derek Wolfe missing this game, huge part of that defensive line not showing up.
100%. Yep. I mean, that he's a key cog not being out there. I don't know what his status is, if he's going to be ready for next week or not. But yeah, I expected, like we talked about our, projections and our predictions for the end of the year. I expect big things out of Madubuike, and I don't know who said it in there, but you didn't see him a ton out on the field, really. He was out there, but he wasn't out there a ton. I just expect bigger things from him. I thought we'd create a lot more pressure. Yeah,
specifically us. So
right.
Yeah, it was a little letdown. That's
Yeah.
one of those things where you see, you didn't see his name as much, and it wasn't a lot of positives out of him. So
now, with all that said, it's one game. It's the first game. It is now a 17-game schedule.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got 16 more of these things to go. I'm not ready to jump ship on the Ravens. It was a gut check, and it was a reality check. And, it gives us at least a status of where things are with this team. And
we're sorry, James.
What needs to be improved on. And, we're sorry for not taking your predictions serious there, James.
You took it to a 3-0 prediction last week, so it is what it is.
I told you the Raiders' offense can be explosive.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And that's what I was trying to say is Derek Carr can be a great quarterback if he's given the time. And now he's got weapons all over the field. You know what I mean? So I agree with you.
And their defense got better compared to last year. And
Crosby looks like a monster.
Yeah.
And their defensive head coach is the head coach that was with the Chargers when they beat Lamar in the playoffs.
Right. Well, the reason I'm saying this, again, it's 1 week.
Well, this week's not going to get any better.
No, I know. We're getting there. Do you think people are overreacting to this loss? Or is there actual concern now with the potential of being a division winner, the potential of a playoff run? Like, are you concerned with the way that this roster's constructed right now?
Our fan base naturally always seems overreactive anyway.
Right.
You could win 4 in a row, and then the next game, that game that you lose, you completely forgot what you did in the 4 weeks.
What have you done for me lately?
What have you done for me lately?
Right.
So I don't think it's an overreaction, but I don't think you can't. I'm not going to say it right because you're going to be overreacting. It wasn't. You can't underreact to it either. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and say everything looked great, but they also could have won the damn game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of things bounce a different way. They make 3 picks. You know what I mean? Like things can go a different way for them.
Right.
You got to remember that. And sadly, that's kind of what happens in Ravens games when they lose. You think, well, but if that would have happened, it would have been a whole lot different. It comes to a problem of the depth at at the offensive line. I don't know if we can fix that.
Right. I got you.
That becomes my bigger worry.
Go ahead, James.
I just want to bring in and say we have to bring back reality. It's going to be a long season for the Ravens. I'm sorry. Like, I would love, like we talked about, I love the Ravens go 17-0, but with all our injuries, the next 4 games it's going to tell us about what our season is, and Greg Roman's probably going to be, his job's going to be on the line by week 4, but our running backs, our offensive line, and our defense having suspects, like our fairy tale just went to reality, and it's going to be a long season. And it's going to look ugly for the Ravens. I'm just letting you know that.
Now, I want to also point out to people it was something on my mind before I came in today. Let's also look at just the conference. The Browns also lost.
Right.
Pittsburgh didn't.
But they looked great.
But they still lost. It doesn't matter.
They
still
played a
lost.
great team, though.
But they still
played
lost.
A great team.
So if we beat Kansas City, who looks better? Us or the Browns?
That's such a Raven thing to do. The Ravens are going to fucking lose to the Raiders and then somehow figure it out and beat the fucking Chiefs.
My point being with the reacting smartly, you're not the only one that lost.
Right.
They lost. The Bills lost.
Yeah.
And I mean, Pittsburgh defense was really great. The offense wasn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the Bills lost.
TJ Watt's going to eat
Tennessee and Indianapolis lost. It's one game. It is still one game. It looks bad, but if you beat, that's what I'm saying. If you beat Kansas City, though,
but hold on.
How does that make you worse than other players?
Our division right now, the Browns and the Steelers are licking their chops. Garrett is licking his chops. Clowney is licking his chops. T.J. Watt is going to lick his chops right now.
It's more about the offensive line than the rest of it.
We have no offensive line. Lamar's going to be running for his life.
It's going to look like the Chiefs Super Bowl all year.
We need a miracle.
Listen, hold on. We don't need a miracle. I think there are some things that can happen. There are definitely, and we saw it towards the end of the game where they would bring, like you said earlier, they would bring Ricard out as a tight end too, and he would be used to chip against the end that was giving him fits. There are solutions internally that we have. Now, there were some moves today. Cannon was released, and what was the other move? There were two moves today. I can't think of the other one.
Well, I know they restructured Marlon's
that was it. They restructured Marlon's deal.
How much money it created?
It created like $1.8 million in space is what it created. So now there's 4 open spots on the 53-man roster, which I'm assuming at least one of those is going to be occupied by either Le'Veon Bell or Devontae Freeman off the practice squad. Maybe DeCosta's working on something to bring an outside, a tackle on somebody's practice squad, a tackle on somebody's, depth chart that they have that maybe that we're not aware of. Offensive linemen, like I said before, are not growing on trees, especially ones that can come in and be a starter right away. So anybody they're bringing in, unless they have familiarity in this system, is going to be a project. It's going to take them time to learn the offense. But I believe in Eric DeCosta. I believe in this organization that they will get it figured out. It is week 1. What was it in 2019? We were 2-2 and got our asses kicked by the Browns. And then we went off and ran 12 in a row and went 14-2 in that season. I'm not saying that we're going to repeat history or anything like that. Obviously, you got a big matchup coming up this week, the Chiefs. That's not going to be easy. And I think all of us in the room in here are not feeling good about this matchup coming up. But even if, worst case scenario, you start this year 0-2, I still believe in this team, and I still think that there's ways to get this done.
But you have to be 2-2. I'm fully with you that if we lose this week, it's fine. But when you look at the Lions and the Broncos after that,
right.
If you're not 2-2, anything else, if you're not meeting your goals. It's still not going to be a long season, like James says. We're going to win plenty of games, but you're not winning playoff games if you're not 2-2.
I agree with you. If we get to week 3 and week 4 and we're losing to teams like the Broncos and the Lions, we got bigger issues than I ever could have imagined. But I think there are ways to make this offense successful. And I don't care what offensive line we're running behind. As long as we've got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, I will always bet on him. And I will always believe in what he can do because he is a human video game out there. He makes things happen, right? And again, we were 37 seconds away from winning that game with a shit show offensive line. 37 seconds away. We did not get blown out in this game. We had multiple chances to win in this game. It's not how you wanted to win. I mean, we all, you and I specifically, thought we would win this game pretty handedly. But either way, we were down to the wire and had 37 seconds left in the game. If we make one stop there,
but
we're not even talking about it.
You can also reverse it and say if Waller and Derek Carr did preseason games and were together, Waller could have ate our defenses up last night. So it works both ways.
No, I got you. I got
early by Waller himself.
I got 2 quick thoughts on linemen here. Number one, the hope for a trade for linemen in my head was mostly with Houston, who we thought was selling everyone, and now they just won out the gate and look great. So you might have lost your chance to be selling everyone. But there was a really good offensive lineman sitting out last night, and they don't seem to need him because they played pretty well. Do you reach out for Richie Incognito, try to get him at the end of his career?
Well, he was hurt.
Hey, that crazy strong motherfucker. I mean, he might be nuts, but he is a football player.
Yeah,
he's hurt.
He's hurt.
He's hurt. He's a guard, too. He's not a tackle. So I think we're okay. Okay, not great. We're okay in the interior of the offensive line. It has been since day one that my concern was going to be offensive tackle and the depth there. And right now,
we're not even to the depth.
Yeah, I know. Villanueva was a guy that I thought would be enough. I thought he'd be enough to get us over. I knew there was going to be, obviously, a couple steps back from what Orlando Brown was, but he looked awful last night.
And I'll put it this way. He looked awful. If it was like Andre Smith where you were paying like $1 million or whatever,
right?
You go, oh, makes sense. you paid like $8 million to bring him in.
Right, I know.
That's hard to not think about, like when you see that play.
You absolutely have to have better play on that right side of the line because you got Chris Jones coming in here next week with Kansas City, right? You're going to have Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney twice. You're going to have TJ Watt and Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon looked damn good for the Steelers.
Ingram.
I'm thinking of the running back. Right. Melvin Ingram looked really good for the Steelers, right? And you're going to have to face them twice. So you've got quite a bit of a challenge when it comes to, outside linebacker play and defensive end play, that right tackle position has to be upgraded.
James?
Just hear me out.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying if we're 0-4 by I think the last game is Denver. I think we play
the Lions and then Denver.
Lions, Denver, game 5 is Indianapolis.
Which Denver is much better.
Yeah, it's much
if
better.
you're 0-3.
Hold on. So we're at 0-4.
Greg
Roman is lost his job. Whoever he brought in, it's gonna take over for him. But I'm just saying, I think it's time to turn the wheels and switch from defense to offense. I think it's time to sell these defensive players off, get draft picks, build an offensive line, and move on with our offense compared to our defense. Because I think we got to change.
You do have young, good offensive players.
If you want Lamar as your franchise quarterback, you got to protect him.
100% agree with that.
Weapons, and you want change from offense to defense. I think you need to start shipping these players out. Maybe ship Peters out, Humphreys. Put the money on the offensive side. Let the defense be a little bit here and there, and move on from there. But it could be rough. If we're 0-4, Greg Roman's is definitely going to lose his job. And
I don't think there's a chance in hell we'll be 0-4, but if we are 0-4, we will absolutely revisit this conversation because I honestly, if we are 0-4 and we just lost to the Lions and the Broncos,
bro,
I'm at that point.
I'll be at that losing point. To the Lions.
If we're at 0-3, we're going to be having that conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not losing to the Lions.
The Broncos aren't the problem.
If you're going to pay Lamar, you got to
got to protect him. And we've been saying that. What did we talk about the entire draft show that we did? I mean, granted, thank God we didn't end up getting Jenkins like we all wanted to because he's got back surgery and he's had some issues. But the point was we all wanted offensive line. For those first 3-4 rounds of the draft, that's all we kept talking about was offensive line. And we didn't get it, right? And we're paying for that now.
No, we got a fullback that got cut.
In the
Great
fifth
decision.
round.
He's gone. Let it go.
Let that one go.
My rebuttal to James would be I'm agreeing with you, and then I'm also thinking of the fact that like guys like Calais, Brandon, and Jimmy, well, those contracts would just be out because that'd be their final year.
There's going to be some money freeing up.
There'll be money freed up in the cap jumping. Now, granted, everyone else's cap jumps too. You wouldn't be the only one, but you will have that cap jump with more fans and the new TV deals with either next year or the year after, and you'll have those contracts off. So, but I'm with you. Then that's your focus needs to become offense because if you're going to have that franchise quarterback, it's almost you've got to protect them and you got to give them the weapons.
And that goes back to can't miss in the draft and some of these wasted picks and stuff that we had to you know, if you're going to be shifting that money to the offensive side of the ball, then your draft picks that you're picking for the defensive side of the ball got to hit and they got to be impactful. Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm just laughing at William Sable. We're already at the fire harbs, hire be enemy.
Away.
We're getting there.
Never going to go away.
Yeah. So, like we said, Chiefs are coming to town. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. The offense is the offense. But I really think the biggest concern right now going into this game is still our offensive line, especially going against a guy like Chris Jones, because that guy is an absolute monster.
I feel like if the pressure's different, which we, at this point, no, we don't expect it to be any different than what happened with the Raiders. But if the pressure's different and he has time, you can throw on this team, I think, a little bit.
Right.
I mean, Baker proved it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Baker looked great in that game.
He did. They're opportunistic. Obviously, they got the pick to seal the game.
Right.
Like it's an opportunistic defense, but it's the pass rush that is the biggest worry.
Right. Yeah, well, granted, they didn't have the Honey Badger out there. He wasn't playing, so that makes him a little more susceptible. I don't know if he'll play this week or not. They haven't said.
I think it was just COVID-related.
Was that COVID-related?
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure. But either way, the Chiefs, as Lamar has said a million times, that they are our kryptonite, and he is 0-3 against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'm not feeling real confident going into this game, especially you got a guy like Travis Kelce. We just saw what Darren Waller did to us. and that was dropping 3 or 4 balls. You get a guy like Travis Kelce.
He ain't going to drop them.
If Jimmy Smith isn't healthy and isn't ready to go this week, and we're dealing with the same defensive backs and the same, I'm concerned.
Yes.
I'm concerned. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and the Ravens, historically against them, haven't been able to keep pace with a high-scoring game, especially against the Chiefs. So, I don't know. I'm not feeling real confident going into this game. Ryan, what's your don't give me a prediction yet, but what's your meter? Where are you at with this game going into it?
You said it's the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
No, until they fucking show me, we lose the Chiefs every time. I can't get on board. We haven't seen any of our stars do anything to them. So it's not a reality. Their coach is better, their quarterback's better, their tight end's better. It is what it is.
James, what are you feeling?
Maybe Patrick Mahomes can get COVID this week.
That's the only shot. That's the only shot.
No.
Like that's what I'm trying to do.
Football teams.
We're all Ravens fans first and foremost, right? So we're all going to be
That's the
pulling.
only option.
I can't wait to be there.
Please, COVID.
I'm excited for the game. Like it hasn't dampened my excitement for the game. Still excited for everything. It's just I'm trying to sell myself a path on how we do this, and
I would gladly be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
I mean, regardless, if we would have came out and won this game by 2 touchdowns, when it came to our picks, I was going with the Chiefs anyway because it's exactly what you said. Until you beat them, you got to prove it to me.
All right.
You haven't proved
Is
it
there
yet.
any way we can get the same guy that gave Des Bryant a false positive test against the Cowboys for
Chris,
for Mahomes?
Chris, Fred's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We hope his bank's rocking. We're going to try to help, but I don't see it, man. I just don't see it.
All right. Well, before we get into our predictions, let's do a social media shout out. All right, Ryan, I haven't had a chance to really pay a whole lot of attention to the chat room, but who's been out there? It looks like it's been moving quite a bit.
A hell of a lot of you, so if I missed you this week, sorry, but that's nearly impossible when we're that deep. Thank you for all the engagement. It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
But first, as usual, Buffalo Chuck's internet connection is just a
Buffalo
little bit
Chuck.
better than all of yours. I don't know why. If we were keeping a tally, I'm certain that he would be dominating. He'd be more than everyone else but his wife by about triple.
By the way, his wife is a saint because he's got 2 kids, and it's 7:30, and you're like, you would think you'd be in the thick of it. Nope.
Nope. First. I'm first. I'm there.
It's like that dad that like dropped the kid to catch the ball. He drops the kid to hurry up and make a comment and catch the kid.
I do. That's what we're going to do. All right, so episode 300, we're going to hidden camera to find out how Chuck does it.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Buffalo Chuck with the first, Jacob Paul, David Missler, my wife Kaylee, Kamal Porter, Garnett West, Joe Carlozo, Red, White, and Dew, Marjan Bowl 17. These YouTube names always get me. They're so much harder.
Doesn't be more YouTuber, though.
Dimitri Kokonis, William Sable. He had a long post about a fumble that was true. It's just like we were fumbling all over the place, so we can't get this under control, and that's the problem. Oh, that's what it was. He was talking about how Lamar only has 14 fumbles, and he's held the ball 1,400 times.
Right,
Yes,
I saw that stat.
that's a great stat for him, but the problem is how they came. He said it was about where they came in the game. For me, it's not that. For me, it is his whole first year, he fumbled all the time. And last year, he was great. No fumbles. So when you come back this year and see 2 fumbles in the first game, you have flashbacks to that year one.
I did too,
and you're
yep.
like, if you get back to year 1 fumbling Lamar, we are done for.
I agree.
So it may be about the big times of the game, but for me, it's more about how they were right close together. Last year, he was amazing. He shut me up. He was not a fumble problem. Joshua Walker, Jamal Caldwell, Ray Jacks, Travis Whitfield, Adit Mahood. He said over under 70% we bring back guard/OT Michael Schofield.
That could be.
That's
a good thought.
Okay, Q Hut, John Googs, our Shell and Tell transfer, been lighting it up in here again. He's arguing with everybody about everything. I love it, Googs.
Appreciate it, John.
Alex Duvall, why didn't we run the ball? For that, I just wanted to bring that up to bring up How weird is the fountain of youth that Mark Ingram stumbled into with 26 carries down there in Houston?
It's because it was against the Jaguars.
That's the first
And it was
game.
also like 25 carries for only like 60-some yards. Not a very good average.
Did any of you
They were
dash
well
to the
ahead.
free agent wire to pick up Mark Ingram?
Not at all.
No.
I
Same for you
I did
guys.
only because I had Cannon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Duly noted.
All right. Let's see. Helio Dominguez, goated builds. Ali Hilmi. First chat from the Iraqi Raven, he says. I saw
Awesome,
Wink
man.
not calling the right calls, to be honest. Yes, thank you. I wanted to bring it up for sure because of your first chat. Thanks for engaging. Don't know if it's your first show, but if it is, thanks for finding us there too.
Yeah.
And well, I hope to hear from you more. Diggs9876. Flock Nation and Chris Gangemi is the end of my list. I'm sure I missed at least 6 of you because you guys were flying.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into our predictions. I think we're all in here worried about this game. I don't think any of us feel confident. I'll start with Scott's prediction because Scott's not here. He might be listening. I think I've seen him a couple times in the chat room. Scott also feels the same sentiments that we do. He does not see this being
No, he's the lone wolf.
Wow, he is the lone wolf. Wow, we should have gave it away. But, Scott's got the Ravens winning this one somehow in a miracle. I don't even know how he got there, but he's got them winning 32-28. Drew, what do you got?
I always try to pick some random weird scores too every now and then, especially with these night games because they always seem to have a weird score. I went with Chiefs 42-33. I just think it's gonna be another. It's gonna be you're gonna keep pace with them, but it's just gonna be two. There's gonna be some drive or two where they just get ahead and you really can't play catch up,
Right.
Or you get cute like we've done in the past. Excuse me, but where you decide to go for it on 4th down and 1 when you could have kicked the field goal because you were worried about keeping pace. I just got delusions of all that all the time. Like I said, till they prove it, I can't see them beat the Chiefs. I would have picked the Chiefs even if we blew out Oakland.
Gotcha. What do you got, Ryan?
All right, I got the Chiefs 35, Ravens 24. I've already talked about why I think they're better than us, so I don't think there's much more to go into. Sure hope I'm wrong. Sure hope Andrew's got some angry looks in his eyes. I hope we lost his Raiders game because we were practicing for the Chiefs. We'll find out.
All right, James, what do you got?
Well, I just looked at my score. I gave my text to you guys yesterday at like 5:34 before the Ravens game, and I had it 37-28. I think now it's going to be like 47-17.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I'm going 47-17.
I'm
now.
trying to find a way to change this.
No, you can't on here. I'll do it.
47-17 and something happened to Lamar probably.
Write it down.
I can't see it being so tightly 10-point close
Give
game.
it to me one more time, James. 47 what?
17.
17.
So
All right.
I'm going to give Jacob here a shout out because he actually kind of stealing my thunder here a little bit. You hit the nail right on the head. Only chance, he says, only chance to beat Mahomes for the offense to stay on the field as long as possible. He can't beat us on the sidelines. This has been my map to beating Mahomes since Lamar's taken over is the whole controlling the time of possession. That's why I was like so dumbfounded that the Ravens didn't win time of possession against the Raiders. I don't know, though. With the way that the running game is right now and with the lack of faith, apparently, that they have, even though we saw what we saw, the fact that they didn't have the faith in Tyson Williams to carry him through in that second half and control the clock, I don't know what the Ravens are going to do, but I think if you're going to do that, that's the only way. You're not going to be able to get in an aerial shootout with the Chiefs and expect to win that game. It's just not going to happen. Patrick Mahomes will beat you 10 out of 10 times if it's an aerial showout. You've got to control the clock. You got to control how many times he's on the field. But I don't see the Ravens being able to do that. I got it in a closer game than some of you guys got it. I have the Chiefs winning it 38-33, but we're all saying that this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it isn't going to be 10-3.
Garnett West, I fully agree with James here at 41-14. Mahomes has 4 TDs to Kelsey and 2 TDs to Hill.
Well, see, that's
2
where
to
you're wrong.
Clyde is the weirdest
That's where you're
prediction
wrong
here.
because Clyde ain't getting 2
Clyde is
touchdowns. I
not
can guarantee
getting
that. I'll put money on
Clyde
that.
looks bad
I'll get on that.
again, which makes me sad because I have him a lot of places.
All right.
One game they played.
Let's go over to the Thursday night game. Thursday night game is the Giants taking on the Washington football team.
They'll have a
which-
nickname at some point, apparently.
Obviously, we saw this week Ryan Fitzpatrick went down. He's got a hip injury. He's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks, they're saying right now. So it's Heineke. He's in.
Damn you, Buffalo Chuck, for having Heineke.
Yeah, let me tell you,
we
Buffalo
wanted to have
Chuck.
a shootout so bad.
I watched this game with Drew, and we were taunting each other about how much fab was going to go in on Heineke because we were sure that he was out there on the waiver wire for the Dynasty League. No, sir. Buffalo Chuck scooped him up at the draft.
Yeah, I'd use like 80% of my fab.
So I'll start with this one. I still believe that not a whole lot changes with this Washington offense with Heineke out there versus Fitzpatrick. I like Fitzpatrick, but I still think Heineke can run this offense efficiently. He showed that last year in a little bit of time he played. I think Washington will hold their own in this game.
The defense is so good.
The defense is great. Saquon Barkley didn't do a whole lot for New York last week. He's still working back from his injury. I am not a Danny Dimes fan. Danny Jones does not look like a starting NFL quarterback to me. But on that franchise, what other options do they have really right now? So I've got Washington win this game in a lower scoring game. I've got them winning 24-20.
I've got Washington as well, 18-10. I think it's just a defense. A lot of those Thursday games aren't very entertaining and high scoring for the most part because you just played 3 or 4 days ago. You don't have real time to practice all the short rest and all that. So normally kind of ugly, and it's an NFC East matchup at that. So you already know it's going to be ugly, and with the way Washington's defense is become one of the upper echelon teams. So 18-10.
All right, Ryan, what do you got?
All right, I got the Washington football team winning this one 20-13. The Giants have looked like an absolute hot mess. Yeah. Danny Dimes looks like the worst player coming out of Duke ever. The only player.
I think he's like the only player ever.
So he's the best also, but they're really bad at football. So he's the worst player.
He's also the best and worst player at the same time.
So anyway, the Washington football team's going to win it. I like Heineke. He was a lot of fun to watch in the playoffs. They looked a little discombobulated even with him on the field this last game. Their defense did not look as good as we thought it was going to be. But I think they'll get a lot of that together, especially Heineke's going to look better with a week of practice because Lord knows he was not taking any snaps.
For you fans out there, if you're a betting man or a betting woman, don't go with Ryan. He was 1-2 last week, just saying. James, what do we got?
With these two teams being in the same division, you can toss a quarter in the air. If it's heads or tails, that's who you pick. But I'm going with Washington over the Giants, 21-17. It's going to be a close game, but like I said, it could be a close game or it can just be a blowout.
What's Fred doing down there on his knees?
Oh, my God.
What happened to Fred?
I tried to fix the camera, but
it's all them shots again.
All right.
Need a new camera. So that's why Scott's working.
So Scott's got the same score as you do, James. He's also got the Washington football team winning it 21-17.
Oh, you copied off.
Quick thing on the NFC East, now that we've seen 1 week. Is it the Cowboys division to lose?
Yep.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like it. With Dak Prescott makes that team so much better.
And their defense is better.
That division was god-awful trash last year. I don't see the Washington football team making it back to as division champions. Do you?
That's still my pick.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you still pick?
my pick?
Okay. Interesting.
You know who looks trash, too? Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta looked rough. Atlanta looked rough. We'll talk about them in a little bit, actually. So, all right, let's go to the Monday Night Football game. Another great game. We got the Detroit Lions going into Green Bay, which you would think.
Please fire me, Packers.
You would think automatically that this would be an absolute blowout, but the way things looked in Week 1, man, Aaron Rodgers. I've never seen Aaron Rodgers.
So many memes.
That, and he was just so far off. I mean, granted, he didn't play a lot in practice and all that stuff. He came in the last minute and he didn't have a whole lot of reps and all that stuff. But it's Aaron Rodgers. You expect him to be money regardless. And, man, he was off.
There's something weird. I know if anyone paid attention, like they said that Saints worked on this whole process with the NFL to decide where they played their first week.
Yeah.
Right.
They picked Jacksonville specifically because Rodgers has just not performed in Florida. They had a game, and this game almost kind of reminded me of that. This one seemed a lot worse, but they played at a game in Tampa in November, and that's when they look like just garbage.
Yeah, they played the Bucs.
Right.
And it was in Tampa. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's got to be credence to that. I mean,
the other thing they said was because it was the only stadium that took 2 flights to get from Green Bay.
Yeah,
which I thought was really creative.
They played their way of doing it.
Well,
it was a weird way of doing it they were allowed to do, but hey, they didn't ask for a hurricane to come through.
Though they're going up against the Lions this week, and
They lived in New Orleans,
the only thing that kept the Lions somewhat relevant over the last couple of years, meaning relevant that they've won 4 or 5 games a year.
Yeah, he gone.
Matt Stafford is now
looked good,
doing his
too,
thing
boy.
in LA. I told you, man, I'm a big Matt Stafford, and I think the Rams are going to do big things this year.
Yeah, I like the Rams.
What do you see happening in this game?
I've got it. I don't care that they looked like shit. It's 38-21 Packers.
Okay.
Now look, this is one of those things where we were saying something about the Lions in that game against the 49ers. That game wasn't even really close until late when there was a couple of mistakes made by the 49ers that opened it up. I don't see the Packers having back-to-back games that shitty and at home on Monday night. I just don't see it. I just think, and he's that weird like Zen type of guy, man. Like fucking, you guys are all making fun of me. Like watch this shit. I'm going to throw 5 touchdowns. That's
exactly where I was going. He's going to hear it all week long, and that he doesn't care. He didn't put in the effort, and there's obviously issues between him and the front office, or not front office, but him and the coaching and all that stuff. They're going to come up with all kinds of excuses as to why he performed like shit in this game.
Why watch him an MVP?
Yeah, he's going to come out and, like you said, throw 4, 5, 6 touchdowns in this game. I've got the Packers winning this one 34-13. What do you got, Ryan?
I turned off the podcast outline. Here we go. Ryan has Monday night Packers 24-20. So
that's mine, dude.
27-17. Sorry, don't want to make you do that. 27-17, same winner. That's all that matters. Packers are going to win. If Chuck's right and Aaron Rodgers quits, that's obviously not the case. But Aaron Rodgers and Adams are too good to do that 2 weeks in a row. I don't know. Maybe the Saints are actually good. We're going to find out pretty quick. With it by week 3, you'll actually know what's going on in the NFL.
That's the other part of it. Their defense is really good.
I have 24-20, as Ryan said.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Packers, but maybe Rodgers can't throw down in Florida because his bones and muscles are too relaxed. He needs some cold to bring it back in and get the muscles tight to sling it down the field.
Maybe you're on something.
Like Drew said, he sucks in Florida.
It's just that it's something about it that there's something to it.
Yeah. Scott's got the Packers winning this, so it was a clean sweep across the board. Yeah. Scott's got it Packers 34-20. So we have been putting together some votes the last couple of weeks as far as where we're going to put our money, right? So we've partnered again this year with MyBookie, and we decided this year we're going to do one bet each week with all of you guys involved. Last week we did the AFC North. So let's go into our MyBookie. Here we go here. And let's find.
As you can see, it's lower than last week.
Let's find a bet to make in here. Let's see. Anything jump out at you this week, Ryan, like a matchup that you're excited for?
I mean, there's going to be some interesting lines on the Packers games as bad as they look. I can imagine that there's going to be some, judging on that. It's going to be the lines be moving all week, I think, because it's going to be set very different than where it's going to end up.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to do another 4-team parlay. We did not work out doing the AFC North. So we want to go with 4 games that I think all of us in here are pretty confident in, so that way we can actually win some of that money that we lost last week back, right? So the Giants and the Washington football team, we can just bet the money line in this. Do you guys feel confident in Washington football team winning this game? We were all on Washington football team in our predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, so that'll be one of them. Saints, Panthers, do you believe in Jameis Winston? What did he throw for 100 yards, but he threw 5 touchdowns, enough to beat the Panthers? Or you want to go on to the next game?
I'm good with that, but minus 200 is pretty rough. So if we were confident in something else, it might be a better bet.
All right. Browns, Texans. Obviously, this would be...
Jesus, minus 630. That feels like a lot. We should take the Texans for fun on that one. We're going to make some money.
No, I'm not betting with you. Not on a parlay.
I want that as a single slip, though, baby. They'll give me that on single slip.
Right, there you go. Are we confident, though, the Browns are going to wax the floor with the Texans, or do we think what we saw out of Tyrod Taylor and Houston is real?
It ain't real.
All right, so we're all
Cleveland Browns go there, but seriously, after we're done this, we come back and cover our losses just in case.
All right, so we got 2 more games. I like this matchup here. Buffalo Bills, AFC.
Ooh, that's a nice game.
AFC East game. This is a much closer line than I would have ever thought. But obviously the Dolphins beat the Patriots this past week.
Dolphins are winning this game.
You think the Dolphins are going to win this game? See, I think the other way. I think the Bills, same thing. They come back with a vengeance. I don't think the Dolphins have a chance in this game.
All right, well, the Rams are going to crush the Colts, so I think we can lock that up. They looked amazing.
Yeah, I think
Fred,
we all agree with that.
That looked amazing, but then they go on the road.
I don't even know why you asked Drew that about the Buffalo game. He gave you Diggs for nothing.
That's true. That's true. All right, so we had one off on the Bills and Dolphins, so that's not a layup, so we're not going there. Are we all on board with the Rams and the Colts, or you have?
No, I mean, I think the
Rams are going to spank them.
All right, so there's 3. We need one more. 49ers and Eagles, I'm not going there. Broncos, Jaguars, I'm not going there. Patriots, Jets.
I mean, it's a rookie quarterback versus Bill Belichick.
It's rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback, right?
Arizona right there.
Arizona and Vikings. Arizona looked great in that first game.
Minnesota did not.
Minnesota, well, I mean, they hung with the
Buccaneers
Bengals.
are going to beat Atlanta. That's a given.
This is the home game.
And here you go. Here's the layup.
That's a given.
The Buccaneers and the oh god, wow, -735.
We're going to win $3. Let's see what this slip looks like with all these negatives.
I like Atlanta.
This just shows you guys out there how easy it is to use my bookie. If you use the link in the description and you use the promo code Birdland BS, all one word, you will get double your first deposit up to $1,000. So we're just going to go ahead and make this 4-team parlay here. We're going to bet $35. If you could type, or I got it right. 35. Woo! $35 to win $74.
That's a really bad parlay, guys.
That's a rough parlay.
That's a really weak
But it's a
parlay.
confident parlay. And that gets us back to even because we lost $35
and this is why I'm
week.
a bad gambler, because I would go, bullshit, I'm getting more money than that.
So we're going to go ahead and place it. But that's it. That's as easy as it is, man. You can bet on anything in here. You can do straight bets, parlays. You can bet on prop bets, for individual players or scores and quarters and all kinds of things.
Who scores first is a fun one because you find out quick.
Right. Which we'll get into that next week. But make sure you use the link in the description for MyBookie. Use the promo code Birdland BS. Get double your deposit up to $1,000. All right, Ryan.
All right, it's the time of the show for me.
And Drew's done.
I'm kidding.
It is it's time for some Shell and Tell. It was another fun weekend down at Capital One as the Terps handled business. It was a game that I don't think anybody in the stadium had real question marks about. Biggest thing that we said was we wanted to make sure that we got out of that game healthy, which I know you were a little nervous about because we went into midway through the third quarter and a lot of the starters, most of the starters, pretty much all the starters were still out there.
Googs, where you at? Googs, were you as nervous as I was with how deep these stars were going? I was chanting from like midway through the second quarter to get the starters out. Then we're almost halfway through the third quarter, and they have a wide receiver lose a knee. And I'm like, is this not your call sign to get your boys off the field? I'm real happy it worked out for you, Locks, but man, I was nervous those boys playing that deep.
See, and I would agree with you if this was an NFL game, right? But if they're talking college football, and these points and winning games like this mean
Goog
the
said
world.
he was just as nervous as I was. Says, yes, Ryan.
And I was nervous. Obviously, you don't want any of those guys out there. You don't want anybody to get hurt. But at the end of the day, these blowout wins help you, especially when you get down to, that sixth win, if we're going to be bowl eligible, as to what bowl you end up going in. So helps you in the rankings. Right now, we're sitting, I think with 12 or 15 votes right now outside of the AP.
Yeah, looking pretty good.
Looking pretty good. But all right, let's talk a little bit about what we saw in this game. I think pretty much saw what we expected to see.
Every player, that's what we saw. All the players.
Talia looked good. Dante Demas with yet another big game. He was actually our offensive player of the game in this game. So he has the first back-to-back 100-yard game since Stephon.
Yeah, he looks great out there, man. I know this is against Howard, but it's 6 games in a row that he's had a touchdown. Those weren't all against Howard.
Right.
And it was in a very strange season. And, Talia does not look as good last year as he does this year. So to have that type of consistency, we've already talked, he's got the body of an NFL wide receiver.
Yeah.
This guy's doing big things. But our wide receivers didn't stop there. We had our play of the game from our other receiver, Raheem Jarrett, who converted on the only fourth down I think we had all game.
Yeah.
With 4th and 2, but it was in deep field goal range, so they went for it and converted on a 30-yard touchdown on his slant. It's his go-to.
It's his go-to.
You throw a slant to rack, it's a touchdown.
Right.
That's all.
That's exactly right. Now, I know going into this, you did have question marks. One of your things that you wanted to see out of this game was, what does wide receiver 3 look like? And Jayshon Jones, obviously dealing with the injury in week 1 against West Virginia. Didn't see a whole lot of field, but he saw more in this game. What'd you see out of Jayshon?
Jayshon showed a lot of explosiveness. So, I mean, that extra week on that hamstring that they let him sit out, I think it was helpful. He looked pretty good on the wide receiver side of things. I like him as the punt returner. Neither one of our punt returners really looked all that good. We had a lot of bobbled snaps and things, but I just think he's more shifty. He's that, like, highlight reel in a bottle that I love to watch back there.
Right.
So, you never know what's going to happen on punt team, especially in college. So it's always good to just have the fastest guy, the shiftiest guy available, and I think that's it.
Right. For me, going into this game, one of the things that I wanted to see was I wanted to see some of the depth. I wanted to see some of the freshmen get some extra time. At running back specifically, I want to say we saw 5, maybe even 6 people carry the ball back there in the backfield. My guy, Roman Hemby, a Middle River product out of the Renegades, he got to see the field. McDonald, at his first carry, ends up getting a touchdown. Boone had his touchdown in this game. So I think the future is bright at the running back position, and this allowed us to see a little bit of that. Yeah,
the running back positions, definitely the youth is there. Like, the youth is definitely a step up than what we've seen in a while. I mean, we've had our stars, but the depth is definitely better than we've had in years past. You said Roman Hemby was there. We had to see Penny Boone for the first time. Yeah. That big boy, he slimmed down a little bit, but he's still thunder.
He's still thick.
He's still thick.
Thick boy nation.
Yeah, thick boy nation's taking care of things. He looked still a touch slower than we'd like, but he was rocking it. And then the biggest surprise for me was what you call him. Offensive lineback, offensive lineback Antoine Baby Bus Littleton.
Yeah.
My man, this dude does not look like he should be able to carry the ball, but when you give him the ball, he abuses people, and he definitely looks faster than you'd think he would be running. So I don't know. It's fun to watch. Again, it's Howard and maybe even some backups in Howard because they knew the game was far over, but. It was a lot of fun to see the young kids.
They did have Tayon out there early on in the game. We did not see Isaiah Jacobs in this game. I don't know if that was by design or if he was dealing with something, but we didn't see him in this game. Another one of the things that I wanted to see, talk about the depth, right? As I wanted to see the Terps get up 35, 40 points, what I said on the podcast, get up 35, 40 points, and I want to see that QB2, the one that we've heard all the hype about, Reese Udinsky. He comes in. Now, granted, they didn't ask for him to do a ton. It was more of just, we're up 40, 50 points at this point, be a game manager, hand the ball off. He did make a couple of throws.
Yeah, they did let him throw. That was the last quarterback they let throw, but they let him throw.
Yeah, they let him throw a little bit. He looked good. He looked very good.
Yeah, this guy probably be a starter on most Terps teams in the past. That was a strong arm. It was accurate. It was on time. He took some bad snaps from the center, high and low snaps. What Lamar's used to, and it just didn't startle him. He stayed on time with it. He was able to keep his eyes downfield. He was able to hit the receivers. I don't want to see him play because Talia looks like the man, but I feel better knowing that he's a better option we've had in the past.
Yep. And obviously, in any game that you shut somebody out on defense, I don't care if it's Howard or if it is the Middle River Renegades, whoever you're playing against, a shutout's a damn good performance by your defense. A lot of the starters, to the point, were still out there in the third quarter.
Way too long.
Played a lot. Nick Cross was one of those guys that was out there for a long time.
Nick Cross has to be the most physically fit man on the planet. I think he played every snap of that game. He was on punt return. He was on kick return. He was on kick coverage. He was on field. Nick Cross is always on the field. Always on the field.
One of the things that you pointed out to me when we were at the game, though, was his communication when he was on the field. It's next level compared to where it was last year and even the year before that. He is really embracing that leadership role and helping get guys in place, and really it affects the entire defense and makes this unit so much better having him out there.
It does. It absolutely does. You saw times where he felt confident, even giving directions to Hippolyte, your other leader.
Right.
You saw him in the back just counting out, making sure all the wide receivers are coverage, physically moving people if they weren't paying attention. So it's really good to see his leadership. This guy's going to be flying up draft boards if he keeps playing like this.
Now, the one area that was real problematic week 1 that we wanted to see if they were going to improve in week 2, the special teams unit.
Not much better.
Not much better.
Howard wasn't watching any game film, though.
I know.
Howard,
they did not expose
Howard
it.
refused to return so many kicks, and we were just kind of laughing at the sideline. We are like 8 feet from the bench of Howard. Like, that's
Right.
where my seats are. They hear everything you say. And I just kept asking him, I said, why aren't you returning the ball? The only way you beat this defense is don't play against the defense. That's the only way you can score.
Right.
So return the ball. But they just kept letting touchbacks go. They did return a couple. No, they didn't go very far. But I was amazed with that many touchdowns that we scored. That's a lot of kickoffs to cover, that they weren't at least going to test us with how bad it was week 1.
And then the other thing that I saw with that was, we talked about communication, was there were a few shorter punts in this game that obviously we weren't going to be able to field. And instead of just easily communicating and yelling to everybody to clear, it didn't seem like there was any communication going. There were way too many close calls, players way too close to the ball.
And sometimes that just looks bad from our vantage point because we are so low. We're basically at field level. But I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it back.
I did.
But I just did too. They were as bad as I thought, maybe worse. Yeah. I mean, I still literally bounced off his own player to fair catch that first ball.
Right.
I don't have any idea how he's not just yelling, get out of my way. Not even clear. He literally, if that ball is 2 feet shorter, he runs into a brick wall and the punt bounces off the dude's helmet.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. It's simple stuff.
Yep.
This is basic special teams knowledge. It's not that we don't have the talent.
Right.
It's not that we're messing things up.
No, I think
it's just call clear, get clear, and then later when he did, Jennings just stood still.
Right.
No, you don't stand still. That's not what clear means. Run back to where you came from. Right. That's what that means.
Right.
That's what it means.
Exactly. And I think, to your point, I think we have weapons back there. I think Still and Jayshon could be good returners. I mean, we know how shifty Jayshon is, and
Still's got great hands.
Yeah,
just decisions.
Right, and they just got to clean this up, because when they get into Big Ten play, when we get to this hopeful number 4 showdown with Iowa, if we're 4-0, I'm going to be real upset if that's the difference maker and why we lose that game.
Yeah,
I'm going to be real upset. That's gotta be, you got to fix that going into that game. So this week, we go on the road for the first time, 2-0 so far to start off the year, both games at home. We go on the road to take on Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we were playing Howard last week, because hopefully we snuck in some practice, because this is a short week on the road, playing a Friday night game to open the Big Ten. Illinois, looked week 1. They came out and beat Nebraska, and of course, every year Nebraska is going to be the next greatest thing on sliced bread.
Right.
So everybody was a little scared. I guess that was actually week 0. They were like one of 3 teams that played that week. But Nebraska hasn't looked good. They haven't really beat anybody since. They've beat 2 teams, but they beat Buffalo and Fordham, whatever the hell they are. So they played Howard twice. And the Illini, who, by the way, don't have a mascot. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've been making fun of the Washington football team.
Wasn't it a chief for a while?
Yes.
Yeah.
It used to be
Chief
yeah.
Isla Nicky or something. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
But we've been making fun of the Washington football teams that it's taken 2 years. It's been like 17 years that the Illini have not had a mascot.
I mean, that eye is real bold. That orange eye is
super
Most
eye.
bold orange you've ever seen.
And apparently, 2 years ago, the students have been pushing for some kind of kingfish. There's all these pictures of these orange and blue bird they're trying to push through as the new mascot.
Dumb.
So it's going to be terrible even if they do get a mascot. So I don't know, man. But anyway, they lost to University of Texas San Antonio and University of Virginia. So I don't know what to expect from them either. I don't think they're going to be very good. At best, they're West Virginia, and we have a close game. But I think they're probably worse than West Virginia.
At best, West Virginia makes me nervous, but I don't think they're even on that level. So let me ask you, where do you feel confidence-wise going into this game? What do you have as a score projection?
Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Right on the top.
Yeah.
I did not put that in the outline
Fine.
yet.
I'm going to need it.
All right. Friday night in Illini. I think this offense still clicks. I think we're going to be rolling. We score 35.
Through the air, on the ground, good combination of both. What do you got?
Mostly through the air.
Okay.
Fleet Davis will probably get his healthy dose of catches. Fleet Davis will have his 100 yards mixed.
Okay.
That performance. 35 to 24.
Okay.
35-24.
I'm not actually that far off. So I also have the Terps winning this in a close game. I also think that most of their yardage and most of their offensive production is going to come through the air. Dante Demas and Rakim Jarrett are both going to have decent games in this game, but I think the player that's going to have the most impact in this game is a guy who's caught 2 touchdowns but hasn't had a whole lot of chances yet. Chig Okonkwo. Look for him to have a breakout game in this game. I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 receptions, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70 to 90 yards. I think Chig has a big impact in this game, and the Terps win it. I got it, let's say 33-28. 33-28. I think the Terps win.
The other interesting thing we have going on right now is the fact that Iowa will be playing Kent State, and then obviously we get to play Kent State the week before Iowa. So that will be a really good, interesting thing to see. You know, the transitive property in football that never works.
Right.
We're going to get to see the transitive property and see if it works.
Nice. All right. All right, Ryan, it's time for this week's Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. And this week, they didn't hook us up with a beer. They hooked us up with some liquor.
Yeah, Scott got something here, and I figured I would pull it out from my wife's favorite beer in the world is Pumpkin. Well, apparently Pumpkin's got a daddy, because Pumpkin just put out their whiskey. So they read this as, Pumpkin whiskey is a spirited version of its namesake, the beer my wife loves. And a high-proof addition to the royal family, with notes of the pumpkin pie spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and even a hint of whipped cream and crust. Pumpkin whiskey is a treat among tricks. I'm not drinking this tonight, but Fred and Drew are, and I'm betting it doesn't taste like pumpkin pie. It probably tastes like whiskey. Let's find out.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting that nutmeg taste. We'll find out.
Is this some basic white bitch, like pumpkin spice shit?
Yeah, I don't like it.
I thought it was all right, and
I mean, it's not.
So I'm gonna preface this.
It
So
surprised me. I still don't like it.
I do not like pumpkin.
Look, Kaylee's still there. She says, that sounds yummy.
It's
You can't
actually
get
not
pumpkin
bad.
past her.
Kaylee, you'd probably like this. You like the peanut butter, the screwball stuff. You would probably like this too. It's smooth like the peanut butter. I guess you can taste the pumpkin, but it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, taste the cloves. I
don't even know what a clove
Neither
tastes
do I.
like.
That's why I taste it.
Got it. It makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. It's good. So if you
wasn't
wanna
bad.
check it out, give him that name one more time there, Ryan.
Pumpkin, baby. Let me show it to you one more time. Good bottle. Good brand.
Pumpkin.
And if you're going to buy this, you might as well buy the beer. The beer is pretty good. For a pumpkin beer, it's pretty good. And it's by far her favorite of the pumpkin beers.
Make sure to get up to Liquor Stop. Tell Jerry and the crew Birdland BS sent you. Get you 10% off. All right, Drew.
All right,
Scott-
the quickest segment on the docket.
Let's get through this one real quick.
fast.
My wife first wants to tell us to bring this bottle to shot 30 at the Terps tailgate. We're going to have to clear this with Scott, but it's not a bad decision, actually.
Yeah. It's pretty good. All right, so we're talking Orioles. Not a whole lot good going on like it has been all year.
Yeah.
So let's get the bad shit
let's
out of
just
the
get
way.
The bad shit out of the way. 3 more.
Lead us off, Drew.
46 and 97, 3 more away from 100. They still look better than they did like 2018. Those kind of range. It's probably not going to have that loss record, but
So you got to set this up for me because I'll be honest with you. Since Terps football has started, I have really disconnected myself from the Orioles a little
I'm
bit.
proud of you.
I think I needed a break from it,
probably,
and I needed some positivity in my life. And the Terps, at least for 2 weeks, have been able to provide some positivity in my life.
Yeah, but last time we were 2 week positive, it went real bad. So we got to really hope this week
That's
stays
right.
with it.
I'm going to ride this train as long as we possibly can, Ryan. Either way, I had to disconnect myself, and I came back, and I was just reading some stuff the other day. Please tell me that what I read was not true. Did we have a no-hitter?
you don't even really need to watch the games. You can just go on Twitter, follow a couple personalities on Twitter, and you'll know everything you need to know about the Orioles.
Essentially.
Because that's what I did. I mean, Saturday we were at Hershey Park, so I didn't catch any of the games. I'm a recent YouTube TV newer guy, so
Yeah,
I don't
good
get
stuff.
Masson anymore. Even when we did have Masson, it was few and far between. The Jays rolled in.
Would they drop
Now,
80
so
on us?
granted, well, let me set the table. Look, the Jays rolled in, and it looks bad.
And it's
But they
football
won
season
on-
all of a sudden.
They won on Friday, and that was like they were the only team to beat the Jays in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
But then that's
Let's
where it
give them the
ended.
credit then.
That's where the credit ends.
All right.
So they won on Friday night. on they had a doubleheader to make up. So doubleheaders, 2 7-inning games.
That was in 7 innings?
Yeah, it's still because the COVID and the fastness.
I saw the score. I didn't know it was 7 innings.
So
bad
Keegan
it
Aiken,
was.
yes, Keegan Aiken had a no-hitter going into the 7th, and he looked good. Everything looked good. Everything on the up.
Meanwhile, I was driving home when this happened.
So, like I said, I think when we got in the car, the game was kind of wrapping up. And I was like, okay, this got to close this out. That's cool. That's me. And even if they split with Toronto, that's cool. They, a playoff contender. We get a little bit down the road. I decided to look at it. I haven't gotten the update for the Orioles yet. There was a reason. They were still playing the goddamn game. They gave up 11 runs. So no hitter out the window in the 7th. 11 runs in the 7th.
Oh my god.
That bad juju carried on over.
So what I read was right.
So that was the
awful.
second. I got that wrong. That was the
low scoring game.
So that was the second game. That was the second game. It was what we had a 1-0 lead going at. The game before it, they blew 4 runs in the 7th and lost the game 7-6, I think. And then so all that bad shit carried over on the Sunday, and that was the tune of football score basically of 22-7. And they scored.
Yeah, Canada don't have no football team, so they just went with them.
Between the 7th inning of the second game of the doubleheader.
So in 10 innings, they gave up 33 runs. Because 9 innings in the one game and 1 inning, they gave up 11 runs.
Yeah.
So in 10 innings, they gave up 33 runs.
So, and not only that, the 4 inning span
Yuck.
from inning 7 to game 2 to the first 3 innings of Sunday, they gave up 27 runs total in those 4 innings.
Oh my god.
So,
wow.
for the Buster Olneys of the world,
So we got pitchers, right?
The Buster Olneys of the world probably had their wet dreams over it. They went to bed happy that they could shit on the Orioles even more.
This kind of fits though, because I think at one point we actually lost the first pick of the draft, right? I think we were like a game and a half back, so maybe this was them just being like, hey, you know what?
So yeah, that's I know. Before the weekend, it was 2 games. Arizona had it by 2 games. Right? Had the first seed. So I don't know what
lead.
I don't know what Arizona did. I know we didn't. I knew what we did, and it wasn't good. So granted, I didn't check to see if who has the worst record. I think it did get close, but they might have it because of the percentages or whatever.
Right.
So that's the bad. Let's get it out of the way. We expect they suck.
Yeah.
All right. They suck, and it's Toronto, and Toronto has been literally has been playing great the last 2 weeks. They just came out of New York and beat the crap out of them, and hopefully they're if it means that I'm with this with a lot of Twitter. If it means that the Blue Jays make the playoffs and the Yankees don't, oh well.
Right. Well, so my son must be withholding information from me because he only texts me about the things that he does.
No,
so
he just wants you to know that he's getting closer.
I heard he hit 28 and 29, so it's really close to that 30.
So
mark.
I have a check tonight. Yeah, before tonight's game, he now sits at 29 home runs and 28 steals. Add in the fact he's got 33 doubles. That's pretty. You think 30-30? We've been thinking the 30-30. But that's 30 of those two is not to shank at. I mean, I think his average is down a little bit. It's down to just above the 300 mark. But even if he finished at 290,
if you consider that down on this roster,
yeah. But and even that,
we're so bad that they don't even bother walking the 2 players that can hit them.
Well, they brought even in one of those the late in the one game they brought him in.
Really?
In the second game of the doubleheader, and they intentionally walked him, and then the match.
wow.
It does show that he's at least. He's
somebody
the guy.
they're trying for him too. They want him to get it too.
So you had that. He's looked good. Even the last couple of home runs he hits. I'm not comparing him to Chris Davis, but he looked like one of those power guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't just it just got over the fence. It was like a monster shot to the flagpole.
And he definitely got his height from his mother because he's short. He's not like me at all, but he's still got a powerful.
Yeah, he's
punch
not a Viking.
Sure.
But another guy you could talk about is Mountcastle. He's pushing it. So we talked about him the last couple of weeks. He just he hit a home run in that game that didn't matter on Sunday. He hit his 28th home run, so that tied Cal.
Nice
For the rookie lead, right? He also leads a team with 79 RBIs. So that's pretty cool to see because
I'm happy with that. Listen, it's the Mountcastle thing, and I've always said this since he was coming up. Some people's expectations with prospects are just absurd, right? But if we can find a guy like a Mountcastle who can be that 265 to 275 hitter, but a legitimate power threat that can consistently put up 30 to 40 home runs a year and be in that 90 to 100 RBI kind of guy, I'm for it. And I think Mountcastle fits that mold for this team moving forward. So we have in-house a legit number 3, number 4 hitter of the future here.
Your leadoff guy, hopefully, and then Adley comes in. He's your 2-3 guy. Yeah, Mancini. We'll see what all
happens.
That situation is because you still got another year with him. So we'll see.
You surround Mancini with all that talent around him and that top 4 or 5 spots in the order. Mancini's stats go up.
Yeah. So speaking of Mancini, I mean, we already know we might as well just give him the Comeback Player of the Year award. We know that's coming, but he did. He is the Orioles rep for the 2021 Roberto Clemente Award.
Rightfully
so that's
so.
one of those awards guys that with good sportsmanship, the community outreach, to go with the play on the field, and that's all lumped in. So that's another throw another thing.
That's awesome.
I just heard a snippet of him on the radio on the way in. So we're coming up on September 21st. That'll be the anniversary of his last treatment for
that's awesome.
Cancer.
So real quick, circling back to that, we're talking about that top 4 or 5 hitters in the lineup. One of the guys that's kind of been like polarizing since he's come up here is because, in polarizing, I say this because when he's on the field and he's healthy, he plays well. But that's been the question mark with him, is his health. What do you think Austin Hayes' future is with this team? Like, do you see him having a big part in the future moving forward, or do you think he's just a piece?
No, I really do. Like I've been thinking about him over the weekend, so it's funny you did bring it up. It really does all depend on the health.
Right.
He had some health, obviously another injury kind of earlier in the season, but I mean, really this last couple of months has been really good. I think. I mean, his hitting streak ended, but a handful of games ago, he had like 14, 15 game hitting streak. And I was like,
and I think that was the MLB. It gets overshadowed a little bit because Mullins is having such a good year.
Mullins and Mountcastle have such good years, you kind of forget it. But that was same thing like Santander. Santander had a lot of injuries early in the year. That was one of those guys you thought would have he's shown it on the field before. He would have a much better season and he'd be the trade chip, or you'd see what you had.
Right.
And he had the injury so much early on, but now he's kind of maybe it's too little too late. It is what it is. But at least you're showing something. Right. And to me, it ain't the offense. Yeah, the offense isn't scoring 7, 8, 9, 10 runs every game, but they're not the reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it looks a lot more clear than it ever did before offensively.
The reason I ask that is because that, for me, if that puts us at, let's just say 5, maybe 6 guys, if you talk about Anthony Santander and Austin Hayes, maybe 6, including Santander, guys that are going to be part of this future and part of this rebuild, you only need 9 to field a starting lineup, right? So you're really only a couple pieces away from either, some of the younger guys that are still in the minor league system that we're not talking about Adley because he's already factored into that.
We
top
know he's
6.
coming. Yeah,
we know he's coming.
I really do. I think he's a starting catcher,
right,
for opening day next year.
But we talked a couple weeks ago about the potential of adding like a free agent. You know what I mean, like a free agent shortstop or something like that to the lineup. We're getting to that point where if these prospects continue to stay healthy and continue to progress the way that they are, maybe next year, we're plugging for one of those guys. We're trying to sign one of those big name free agent players because we're only 1 or 2 spots in the lineup away from being that formidable lineup again.
And that's the point too. I mean, that was the whole point of the whole rebuild was to build that up.
Right.
So you have that option. And if you want to go, and it's something that I've thought of the last like couple months really. If you go by Elias's track record with Houston, if that's your model, and that's kind of the carbon copy of what you're doing. It is that could be possible, but a lot of what they did in Houston was they grew those guys.
Yeah,
and we'll see if they're not really signing them because like George Springer moved on, and we'll see what happens with Correa. But they grew those guys and threw money at the pitching.
Yeah,
or
I'd still like to see them do that.
I think that'd be more aligned with what they do. But it's an interesting thing to see because the minors really is. I mean, we said it before. They're the number 1 ranked now. Across a couple of different platforms. They're the number 1 ranked farm system. So it's not fake.
No, you're right. You're right. Let's dive into the farm system a little bit. I know we talk about it pretty much every week, but give us some updates on some guys and some things going on down in the farm.
Yeah, so I mean, Aberdeen's had their roughness. I think pitching in the Aberdeen level is kind of reminiscent of the Orioles. I think you're seeing some of the guys.
Everything's gone up.
I mean, some of what the bad pitching you're seeing in Baltimore has come from Norfolk. So go figure. But I mean, those kind of guys, they kind of got to get up so you can get the other guys to rise.
Exactly.
So Aberdeen's had their issues, but Rutschman's still looking good. He's number one prospect. Basically.
You mean Norfolk's having issues?
Norfolk. I said Aberdeen.
You said Aberdeen. That's where I was getting confused. I'm like, wait,
because I wrote Aberdeen in here instead.
Gotcha.
No, so yeah, Norfolk. But a guy like Kevin Stowers is looking really good.
Yeah. So this was a kid when Scott and I went to the Ironbirds game, we had the press passes. Kyle Stowers was just drafted and had just come up with them. And you could see his athleticism right off. He made a couple of plays, couple of diving catches out in center field. We didn't see a whole lot from his bat in that game that we were there, but you could see that the kid was athletic. And right now, and he's not a big guy. He's a smaller guy. He reminds me a lot of Austin Hayes. He's a similar body build to an Austin Hayes. But this guy's, I think, ceiling's a little bit higher than Austin Hayes. He's got potential not only with an average, but he's got some pop. He's like one of the leaders in home runs in the system right now.
Like a Newstroom's up there with him too. So that's why I look at guys like him and those guys. Like, I don't have really an answer on Hayes and Santander for the future because, you have a couple future there. And that's why I just say it's two guys with two injury histories that you just don't know. You can't really predict.
Right.
But with what they're looking like, it's a great problem to have.
And it doesn't stop there either, because you remember, you down in Delmarva right now, you've got basically the entire 2021 draft class down there, and they are lighting shit up.
Since basically the entire draft class got there, Delmarva's gone 16-8.
That's crazy.
And so Colton Cowser, that's kind of the one everyone poo-pooed when they drafted him. Well, he's batting .377 with a .986 OPS.
I think he's batting over 400 combined in the system, because counting the time
GCL
down.
Or whatever they call it now anymore. Norby's look good. It's a little bit lower average, but it's still a very good OPS.
Yeah.
Jacob Teeter and Dante Williams are looking really good with the average and the OPS. And then it shows you that these were guys that they were a little bit more advanced. They weren't high school players, so maybe they were a little bit cheaper, and that's what everyone wanted to worry about.
Right.
But maybe they were a little bit more ready.
That's true.
So that's Delmarva that, and then the biggest bright spot would be to look at is Bowie, because they just came off who were they playing? Somerset, and they 7 games. Minor's a little bit different. You don't play 3 or 4 games.
They were playing Harrisburg.
They were
chasing Somerset.
They were chasing Somerset, but they had a 7-game sweep of Harrisburg. Sadly, they're chasing Somerset, who had like the same
a 6-game winning streak.
Right. So it is what is. They're on the outside looking in. It's basically across the divisions. It's 2 per division to go to the playoffs. So that's just cool. If they don't make it, I mean, it is what it is. But if they do, that's extra time for guys like that you're used to hearing about with Bowie.
Well, they're loading up too. They just added Gunnar Henderson.
Came on up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just cool to keep seeing these guys move up and prosper. Like I said last week in the segment, like you've seen a guy like him. He moved up a little bit, but then he got better. And when you go up, it'd be better if you're doing good in A, but then you're doing bad in AA, that's a bad sign. But if you keep improving every level, that's a great sign.
Ryan and I had actually talked a little bit about Gunnar when we went to the Ironbirds game, and I'm curious to see if getting him out of that environment with that all non-natural field that he was on, and getting him to a more
turf.
Getting him to a more natural field, if that changes things for him, because his struggles didn't just start and stop with the bat. It went all the way out into the field, and you could see he was in his head. He was frustrated. He was throwing his glove in the dugout. There was a lot of things that were going on, and I think that it all added up, and it created a lot of frustration for him that affected him also at the plate. I hope maybe getting back on natural grass and on actual dirt helps him slow things down defensively. That'll help him, concentrate a little bit more at the plate. Because Gunnar Henderson, he was tearing things up in Delmarva. So I got high hopes for him at AA.
Yeah, he turned around in Aberdeen, and I mean, obviously earned a promotion. So you can't talk about the big club that much. It's kind of not worth talking about. We know that at this point.
Right.
But I mean, I know we say it almost every week.
Well,
but I can't help but hammer in the fact that like this farm system is really good. There's going to be guys in this farm system that you're going to know for years to come.
The one question, going back to the big club real quick before we wrap up, last thing I want to ask you about, because I wanted to get your opinion on it specifically. Michael Ballman made his major league debut over the last week, and he pitched like 3 innings, gave up, I think he had 1 strikeout and didn't give up any walks. He looked good in his first start.
He didn't look good against Toronto.
I didn't see him against Toronto.
He was part of
Was he part of that?
Yeah. He was part of the. I can't remember. It was on Sunday. Yeah, he was part of it on Sunday.
He was part of the football score.
But if it's any consolation, I mean, like every pitcher that came in was giving up like 4 or 5
I was
runs.
so pumped for him. Like that was one game that I did stop to watch a little bit of it because I wanted to see him play if he did play. Pitched 3 innings. He looked good.
Yeah, he looked good last week in his
disappointing.
first opinion. I bet that could be like it's a weird thing. It was good to see the first game.
Yeah.
But could it be that he was facing Toronto?
Yeah.
Like they were so hot. Now I don't what next game, what does he get in if he does what he did the first game?
Right.
Maybe he's back on track. If not, then I guess we'll worry about
But
it.
hey, Fred, how about them Terps?
How about them Terps? I'm gonna hang on to it.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, Drew, it's time for the 2-minute warning. I haven't had a chance to even read through these questions yet, so
It's all right. I did during the Terps. I got my 4 million in my pocket.
I will let you go first. Who's asking the questions? Ryan,
I got
James,
you.
what do we got? James or Ryan?
Yeah, I got it. All right. Do you think Hyde is back with the Orioles next year, or is it time for a new manager?
I think it's just time for a new manager. It's nothing against Hyde. I mean, what can you do with a roster like this and with pitching so in flux? And it sucks because he seems like a really good guy. You had an issue on Friday where he was kind of fighting for his team. You see, he's got that spark for this team, but at some point, you need to start moving towards the future, and it just kind of how it happens. And I think it's this year that. What's the answer is I don't know, but I don't think it's him.
I've always kind of thought Brandon Hyde was a stopgap from the beginning, but as time has gone on, to your point, I've actually grown to really like him.
Yeah.
I like his personality. I think he handles the clubhouse well. I think he handles the media well. I think he serves his purpose. I don't know if it's this year that he's done. I think he carries through for one more year. And then it's try to figure out who, unless somebody off the market comes in that blows the Orioles away that they'll never get again. But
Yeah.
I think he's around for one more year.
With the first weeks the NFL played, which players surprised you the most? Who stood out and why?
I thought I went first.
Go first
So
again.
you go first
Okay,
again.
well, shit. I forgot how it is. CMC, because he's back. He
Okay.
looks like he's back. I think I need him to be back. So that's the good. And I think not necessarily bad, but Josh Allen starting to feel a little bit like Cam 2.0. We were talking
Kind of
about
feels
it.
like a full stadium's too
You know,
difficult for him.
like
I wonder who said that.
Yeah, but the two, it's just it's like he doesn't avoid the contact, and he's a big guy, but it just feels like Cam again.
Yeah, for me, I think the guy that stood out the most was Jameis Winston. I think a guy that used to throw the ball up in the air and try to throw as many yards as he possibly could while also trying to throw as many interceptions as he could because that's all he fucking did.
Got that lazy.
He played under poise and he played very well. He threw 5 touchdowns in that game. He was very efficient, right? We talk about the Ravens and Lamar being an efficient quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Well, we saw that out of Jameis in this game. So I think he'd be my standout player this week.
And bonus, he can now afford crab legs, so we probably not going to steal any.
That's right. All right, you know what? I'm giving the outro duties to you, Ryan.
Oh,
Sign
Jesus.
us out this week.
Thank God. I have
Freelance it, man.
Freelance it.
Freelance
Let's go.
it. Let's do it.
I would have
Join us next week and every Tuesday for Birdland BS live 7:30. You can check out all our social media pages. It's at Birdland BS everywhere. Just search Birdland BS and show and tell while you're at it. You got at Fred BLBS, you got at Terps BS, you got James Bond, some fucking number over here, and you got hashtag Drew because this dude doesn't use Twitter.
No, I've been
No,
using
he's
Twitter
got
a
it.
lot.
He retweets and likes my tweets a lot, so
lot.
I'm good with
All
it.
right. Well, I don't know
Whatever,
Drew's,
quite
I don't know
often.
at Drew's hashtag or title.
At Drew N27.
Thank
Check us out at
I got
birdlandbs.com. We got all the goods there. I'm actually going to re-up on some of my Birdland BS shirts this week. Definitely is on my checklist, so get one on there. And we got the show and tell stuff there as well, too. Stick around for After Hours. Apparently, we're moving the rundown there, which is probably a good idea because it's 9:30. It's getting out a little earlier today.
Yeah, you got a long walk home.
Yeah, I do have a long walk home. I will be calling an Uber here soon. Keep us with the After Hours. Till next time, see you.
Here's to wishing all is well.
Under the show. That's for you, Gooks.
It's time for the after party.
That last call for alcohol.
Last call for alcohol.
Wait, no, answer the internet? I knew it. Scott left and we killed it.
Nah, man. Typically, when the NFL season gets in full-fledged,
we don't need any more shit to talk about.
we don't need to fill air. We don't need,
God bless the day when the Orioles pack it up and we can stop doing that part too.
Yeah.
That's Ryan's wet dream. So let's talk some shit around the NFL, some shit around the sports world this week. One thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about on the show. Did you guys see, we talked a little bit about Chiefs, but did you see the shoving match between Harrison and the coach
Ryan
on
can take that one.
This is why we moved it to after hours, because Fred wanted to talk about it. I called dibs immediately. We have a group chat going, and as it happened, I said, dibs on that for my rundown topic.
Damn it.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable situation there. You looked at Harrison. He ran into the sidelines making a tackle, I believe. It wasn't on Mahomes. It was on Hill, I think. Well, whoever. They were tied up on the sidelines. And his foot's caught. He's trying to back away. He's not fighting anybody. He's not acting out. His foot was stuck on one side of the player.
And
he was trying to walk away. And
he bumped an offensive lineman, and the offensive lineman bumped him back into the player, which made it look like he was stomping on him.
Yeah,
right. He had nowhere to go.
His foot wasn't going down, so he didn't stomp on the player.
So his foot was placed on the player on the ground. But very clearly, the knee was completely bent, and there was no pressure on that foot. The reason he was off balance and unable to get away is because he didn't want to injure the player on the ground. But instead, a Chiefs coach, I don't even know his name here. I wish we had his name. Some idiot needs to be suspended, comes up in two hands, shoves him in the chest.
Needs to get punched in his mouth.
Harrison got ejected.
It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it happened.
And the way the broadcast went, like it looked like Harrison just pushed him, but you didn't see the push. Now the more video came out this morning where like, the guy definitely was like.
I saw it happen in the replay. Like when they showed the replay on air, I saw the whole thing, and then I went through. What would I have done in that situation? And I know my brain and I know how I work, that if I would have, in my mind, been trying to prevent myself from stepping on somebody and then somebody pushes me because they think I'm going at, I would have reacted badly. I probably would have punched him right in his fucking mouth.
My foot would have been stepping when that guy was trying not to step on him.
Right, exactly. It would have been ugly. So, yeah, that whole situation.
I haven't seen anything today. I don't know how they're handling things with the coach, but in the moment, Harrison was kicked out.
Right.
It really is, because they should at least be talking minimum of fine. Minimum.
Right. So let's talk a little college football. We haven't talked college football at all.
Texas might be regretting that whole SEC move because Arkansas handed shit out.
Texas couldn't beat a Big Ten bottom dweller in Maryland twice. What do they think there's going to happen to them in the SEC?
I was looking back on Texas because I wanted to kind of see, and the only thing that they have to hang their hat on in a long, long time is that for some reason when they played Georgia, even when Georgia's ranked like number 5 in the country, Texas beats Georgia. But other than that, they don't beat Big Ten teams. They don't beat SEC teams. They beat Big 12 teams and Georgia. Right. And that's it. I don't know what this is going to look like when you decide to play an all SEC schedule, because the SEC has been making very clear they're growing, so they don't have to play anybody the fuck else.
We talked about this a little bit off air, actually, at the tailgate at the Terps game this weekend. It's mind blowing to me that Texas isn't a dominant powerhouse in football. That is what that state does. Like
it's like what it used to be. I mean, they used to in the early 2000s.
Well, they still dominate as far as prospects. They can't keep them in house like they used to. But I mean, you go to you watch high school football in Texas. There's high school stadiums bigger than M&T Bank down in Texas. It's crazy how big football is down there. But Texas hasn't really been relevant, a good football team in over a decade.
And going to the SEC
or more.
I mean, even before the Arkansas the game to bring it up, I just Oklahoma has been in the playoffs since in its inception. It's been kind of like a perennial playoff team
because their conference is terrible and they're overrated.
That's right. But I'm saying, like, at least they look a whole lot miles ahead better than Texas.
Right.
Yeah, they're better than Texas, but
So
they just have
I don't know
no.
what to tell you. It's not going to pay off. I don't think it's going to pay off.
The whole Big 12 has no defense, and that includes monster Oklahoma. And all offseason, we heard how good their defense is improved. And I'll look up the score while we're here in a second, but their defense got busted up this weekend, too. They squeaked out a win, but it is not any better. It's still a shootout, and you hope your quarterback has the ball last because they are one of the best offenses in the history of the game. But they just refuse to have a good defense over there. Googs brings up another big game I don't see on our list here. How about
No, it's
Oregon
conveniently not on this list.
Yeah, maybe the closet Ohio State fan that wrote the list didn't put it down, but now we're going to talk about it. Thanks, Googs.
Yeah, Oregon ended up beating Ohio State.
I wrote this list, man.
He
Fuck
did.
Ohio State. I wrote this list. I hate Ohio State. I forgot about it.
James and I were actually talking a little bit about this earlier. I didn't get a chance to watch it. Obviously, I was down at College Park, but I did get to see a little bit of highlights. The only highlight that I saw was actually a positive for Ohio State when they were lined up, and two of the cornerbacks on Oregon got caught looking at their cheat sheets on their wrists, and the wide receivers blew by them and caught it wide open touch. It was hilarious.
It's an ESPN highlight, huh? They're still trying to keep their boys relevant.
Yeah, that's the only way that they would make them relevant, right? But James, who was the guy that you were talking about, the defensive end that was an absolute freak for Oregon?
Well,
is it Thibodeau or something? I think his last name is.
Keon is some.
You were comparing him to.
Kayvon.
You were comparing him to a Chase Young type of talent.
Yeah, like he's gonna be nasty. He was a freshman last year, so it's sophomore. You say he has.
He's got one more year then. Yeah.
Hopefully, whoever gets him is gonna get a nasty guy, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the little bit of highlights that you showed me. I think the highlights you showed me was from his freshman year. He didn't look anywhere as near as big, size-wise, intimidating as a Chase Young was, but he's obviously, if the highlights that I saw were a freshman, it's going to take him time for his body to develop and fill out. Yeah.
So I misspoke. It wasn't this week for Oklahoma, but they do have it did happen. So this week they blew out 76-0 versus their Howard opponent. But week one they allowed 35 points to Tulane.
Oh yeah, that's right. It took them
40
to the wire.
35 against Tulane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That there's no defense. Yes, you were great offensively, but they just can't play it.
Penn State won.
Well, another team that didn't win.
We're not gonna talk about that.
Another team that didn't win. Florida State.
Oh, the walk-off. That was fucking insane. I sent that to you guys.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
You hate to see it.
I hate this. I love to see it. The funny part was, it was like, it was a walk-off.
Did you see the guy propose to his girlfriend?
Yes.
I didn't know about all that.
The Florida State player that just lost in the most embarrassing way possible.
You gotta put it back in there, homie.
While the Jacksonville State or whoever the hell they were playing was celebrating on the field, he was on one knee at the end of the end zone proposing to his girl. Bro, try again next week.
Yeah.
I know you planned it. I know it's stressful hiding that ring somewhere, but you gotta plan it again next week.
Put that shit in the locker.
I mean,
and
the
wait.
fact that she said yes makes it a lot less likely she's a gold digger because you look terrible today.
But yeah, it was a walk off. It was one of those things, almost like a kind of like a Tyreek Hill, where he caught it short of the defender, and that defender was lost, and the other defender had to come by, and it was like, no, it's too late. Like, you guys are backtracking, and then there was a guy at number 10, whatever it was, Florida State. He's just sitting there watching it, and I was like, I said to you guys, like, all you had to do was like, if he would have put forth effort, you win. But you hate to see it for a team like that.
Oh yeah, you hate to see it for a team like that.
By the way, Oklahoma plays Nebraska and WVU the next 2 weeks, so I'll be entertained to see what that result is.
Interesting. Yeah, college football world is a little shaken up right now. I mean, you figure obviously Alabama's going to Bama, like they're tearing everybody up. But
Clemson lost.
You get a team like Clemson who loses, Ohio State loses.
It's crazy what happens when you don't have
Deshaun Watson,
and Trevor Lawrence, two less like generational talents.
But in fairness, I can't pronounce his last name. Whatever the hell. Yeah, I'm not even trying.
He's one of the highest recruits ever. But
and he looked good last year in the time that he had to fill in when Trevor Lawrence went down.
Yeah.
But he has not looked very good this year.
But you can be the best player in college football and still not be Trevor Lawrence or Watson. So
right.
Come on.
That's true. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting year to see who's in that Final Four, that BCS contention. Obviously, Bama's going to be there. But
with Ohio State losing, does the Big Ten even have a run? Iowa, I mean, they got an easy schedule. If
Go Terps.
I know. Hopefully, we take care of Iowa's chances for the playoff. But if we don't do it, the Big Ten West is not very strong. They could run it.
So I haven't had a chance to really dive into Iowa yet at all. Like, what makes Iowa? Like, what is it? Do they have great quarterback play? Are they a great defense? Like, what is making Iowa so successful right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happening, but when you're Iowa's heaven. But when you're number 10 playing number 9,
That's the appropriate answer, James.
You take that win over your in-state rival that's ranked above you in the top 10, 27-17. You got something going on. Again, they have to play Penn State, and that's about it. Maryland and Penn State are the two best teams on their schedule.
So John is saying their defense is insane, and so is their run game. So it's going to be a Raven-esque type of matchup because you figure that's what the Ravens are always built around, a strong run game and a strong defense. So.
Well, they got Wisconsin on there too, I guess. I didn't see that later. But, yeah, other than that, you got Minnesota we're no longer scared of without Abraham. We think that's going to go fine.
Yeah.
You got the Illini on there. I mean, they got 2 more out-of-conference games to play that are nobodies. Iowa's got a good shot at something. But Ohio State, if they don't lose another game, they're still going to be the one representing us.
Interesting. Anybody else? Anything else out there in the sports world that you want to get into, Drew?
How's everybody doing in fantasy football?
I did great. 4 and 1.
I should have brought it up for him.
4 and 1 in my leagues and doubled up everybody's score in the Dynasty Birdland.
Hey, what did you say?
I did lose.
He said that earlier. What did you say?
Yeah.
My one
Still
loss
counts as a win.
My one loss is in the redraft Birdland League. I will say, you guys got the best of me.
Winning
We're the only people that got the best
what
of me.
fucking Vin Diesel said?
Yeah.
233 points or something. What the fuck? That'll never happen again. That team is not that good.
I went 4-3. Somehow I got myself into 7 fantasy leagues this
pretty
year.
impressive.
Yeah, I went 4-3 considering the shit show that was week 1. There was a lot of unpredictable things. I've dealt with a lot of injuries. Of course, when you have 7 teams, of course you're going to deal with a ton of injuries. But
I can't do that anymore. 3 was my cap. And I can't tell people no because of you guys.
My problem is I can't tell people no. I'm too nice to a fault. And people ask me, oh, sure, $25, sure, $100, sure, whatever. I don't care. I'll play. I got to stop doing that because I don't put enough focus and time into it. But my betting has been good. My betting on my bookie, don't forget. Use the link in the description. Use Birdland BS to get double your deposit up to $1,000. My betting has been good. So each game, what I've been doing is I've been taking a couple of prop bets. Some of the easy layups, right? Some of the ones that I figured, like I took last night. I took it was Marquise Brown to have 4 receptions or more. I took Lamar to have over 212 yards passing, which he did. And it was 4 of them. The over, which we hit. I forget the other one, but it was 4 of them. And I've been doing it. I even did that in college football. Yeah. I mean, you're like Ryan. We were talking about earlier. Like he's like, oh, I like the riskier to win, the more reward. I take small chunks and build more. Not guarantee, but just higher percentage chance of winning.
Brad, this is the second time. Gone good. Second time John Googs is asking. I don't know how to answer his question without being real blunt about it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. They actually care.
Well.
It's offshore, right?
So the site asks for your date of birth.
Okay.
I don't know
if it's 18 or 21 because it's not.
They don't.
Us.
I don't think they state on there that
he
you
doesn't know if it's 18 or 21 because he's like 50.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I haven't had to think about it in a while, and I'm 39. You dick.
Sorry.
No, I don't. I think you do, but I don't know how much validation they do because it's all offshore betting. So I don't know how much validation they do on all that stuff. It's like when
you go to a site.
I'm going to put it to you like this. The account that we signed up with, we signed up with a Birdland BS account. And, I mean, they're not asking me to scam a driver's license or do anything like that. I just filled in the information.
We're certainly
John.
not paying taxes, and we're hoping to give us our money back, which they've done for Scott.
So
it's been good for the last few years that we've used them.
Real quick. So I don't know if you saw, but you have a $2 billion stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making these players roll across their luggage across the field. Did you see that? Any of it?
Oh, you talking about, when the players were walking in?
Yeah, there ain't no entrance or, like, you get dropped off to, like, your locker room. No, they're rolling their fucking luggage across the
field. Yeah, I did see that. I didn't even, like, it didn't dawn on me that that's weird. But you're right, because they usually come into, like, some private entrance, like, underneath
under
the ground
underneath
or
Or you get dropped off, and this is the visiting area where the bus
Right.
pulls up, and you walk in. No, they're wheeling their shit across the grass.
I didn't even think about that. That is interesting for a $2
$2
billion stadium.
That was still a beautiful
Now, is that
stadium.
was that just the Ravens though, or was it both
No, I'm
teams?
talking about the Ravens.
Yeah, this
But
is
that's
the
what I'm
Ravens.
saying.
I think
Is
it
that
was the
something
visiting
like?
team.
Is it some
Like-
Vegas can get away with saying, well, the visiting team has to do that, but their players go right on into a
Yeah,
perfect.
like a
just saying.
college benefit.
I never,
Yeah.
I never seen players roll their fucking luggage across the field.
Not
it's
like that,
always
no.
like you go out the side door, your fucking bus is there.
They don't have
Right.
a really cool tunnel that ends in a shell underlit with red lighting and a massive.
They played the
Come see
Omar
us in
whistle.
the shell, baby. Yeah, Omar
weeks in a
whistle
row.
did not die with Omar, so we're good to go.
Yeah, they played it 2 weeks in a row.
Scoreboard up.
So
supposed to be for Iowa, and it looks like
it's
gonna be
looking
there.
closer and closer. I saw a picture today that showed more of the actual posts and everything up. I got higher hopes now that it'll be ready for Iowa, but we'll see. Either way, whenever that screen does get done, it is going to be huge,
When
man.
is their homecoming game?
They said I saw a post that said the screen, the amount of LED it has, is going to be so bright that they have to change the lighting in the rest of the stadium because
that makes
the
me
amount
excited.
of light that screen is producing.
That makes me excited.
Ryan, what's their home game? I mean, they're like
Iowa.
homecoming.
Homecoming's a noon game, I think, versus Indiana. But Iowa is the night Friday game. We talked a little bit on here
Going to that game.
about the possibility if you win this week, we then play Kent State, which we would hope if you beat Illinois, you can beat Kent State. You're 4-0. Iowa's not losing before they get to us. They play two nobodies, and they're already number 5 in the nation. So you're going to have a Maryland team at 4-0, will be ranked somewhere in the 20s probably, not massive, but they'll be in the 20s versus a top 5 opponent under the lights in the shell for the reveal of this. It's going to be so fucking epic. Don't screw it up. Finish the scoreboard.
I'm going to that game.
So
by the
John
way.
said, by the way, I'm going to try to be at the Kent State and Iowa game. Hope to run into y'all. Lot 4B, man. We are there every week. 100% come down and see us.
Not every week,
Or every game.
Game that's
Every home game.
Yeah.
Yeah, every
Yeah, I
home
mean,
game. We'll
we
be
just
there.
go hang out on
hang
4B
out.
when there's no game. We like that
Yeah,
parking
we're
lot.
just there all the time.
The lines
like
are
being
very
there.
crisp.
It's the best parking lot.
Hey
Yeah.
Ryan, but I seen that they haven't announced the time for the Penn State game. Was that like depending on like the record?
I would imagine it's depending on the record. But they're both ranked. They're going to end up on ESPN somewhere. That's going to
Right.
be huge.
All right, well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next Tuesday night, 7:30.
See
See ya.